Welcome to the Necessary Entrepreneur Podcast. Today, we are honored to have a truly inspiring guest. Joining us is Andrew Bliss, the co-founder and CEO of Ecoshell, a pioneering company dedicated to creating sustainable and eco-friendly packaging solutions. Andrew Bliss is not only a visionary entrepreneur, but also a passionate advocate for environmental sustainability. With a solid background in environmental science and business, Andrew co-founded Ecoshell to address the pressing needs for innovative, sustainable packaging. Under his leadership, Ecoshell has emerged as a leader in the industry, developing cutting-edge products that significantly reduce environmental impact and promote a circular economy. In this episode, we dive into Andrew's entrepreneurial journey, the challenges he faced in building Ecoshell, and the strategies that have driven the company's impressive growth. We also talk about the 2 decades he spent in Asia, his love for Taiwan, and learning Mandarin. We discuss pivotal moments, learning from past failures, highlighting differences, reducing our carbon footprint, and finding altruism through selfishness. We also explore the importance of sustainability in today's business landscape and gain insights into the future of eco-friendly packaging. Hey, stick around as Andrew explains the term greenwashing, which I had to learn too. Thanks for tuning in. Well, hey, thanks for coming in.
Sure.
I know we were talking about the mutual connection that we have. That's kind of how life goes through the, how many deviations or how many links. Like, I know the person that knows you, and you started a business here in Northern Kentucky. And it's awesome that when we set platforms up like this podcast. So welcome to the Necessary Entrepreneur.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. It's neat to sit down and have conversations with different people, different perspectives, doing different things. But we have this shared idea of, we called it the Necessary Entrepreneur for a reason. Today's about you, but the reason for the podcast was so we could all tell our stories. Okay. You, me, and everyone. And what we found is they all kind of sound the same when we have these entrepreneurial journeys happening. And so we'll discuss that today, find out what your journey's been through, all through Asia, learning, I'm assuming Mandarin. People say Chinese. For the most part, it means Mandarin. Right?
Yeah.
Maybe you know the other languages and dialects. I don't know. Maybe those come from down south.
Fluent in all of them.
Here we go. We're going to hear it today, right? Dave, we're so studied, we're going to know what he's talking about.
I could just make it up, really, couldn't I?
How, so co-founder of a really unique company called Ecoshell.
Yeah.
So we'll get into all that stuff. But it's fascinating to me that you spend a couple decades away from this country, born in the U.S., spend a couple and a majority of that time's traveling throughout Asia.
Right.
Or living in Asia and Taiwan and all these places. So you need to bring everything we don't know about Asia to this table today. And then find a way to link that on how this links
into
up
my entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, 100%. Like,
right.
what about that and those experiences have led you to today? Has it all mattered?
Absolutely. I mean, I remember, I was living here in Cincinnati in the restaurant scene. That's where I met our co-friend Lee Bledsoe. And I was working at Jean Robert Pigaul's, and it's pretty much as high up as you can get in the restaurant industry here in Cincinnati. And I was just struggling. I had finished graduate school. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And at that time, my brother had 2 kids, Samantha and Clay. And I remember looking at them and feeling really, really jealous. They were learning how to walk, learning how to talk, and just starting over. And I had that, and I felt like I had gotten off onto the wrong path. I mean, I was already like 29 or 30 at the time. So I felt like it's now or never. So I just decided to move to China just to start all over. I had couple $1,000s in my pocket and just moved to a small place called Jiaxing, China, just start all over to learn the language for the first year. And then I did. I fell in love with doing that. And then I love the culture. I got really fell in love with the people. I'll give you the expedited version first. And then from there, I went up to Korea because I had a really good opportunity for a better job up there. I was working at a university and also writing some software. But up there, all my friends were the Korean guys that I was friends with in China at the time. They were in Jiaxing studying the language, and I was there kind of teaching English and writing at the time, some freelance stuff. So they were my best buddies up in Korea at the time as well. So we continued to speak Chinese together, even though we were in Korea. And then I flew down to Taiwan to visit a friend. I just immediately fell in love with the place. And that coincided perfectly with where I was at in life in terms of I didn't need to explore anymore. I was ready to lay some roots and actually start taking some risks and start some businesses. So that's why I chose Taiwan. And I stayed in Taiwan then for the next 17 years and stayed there until I just moved back a couple months ago.
What'd you love about Taiwan?
Oh, so much, man. Like, it's hard to pick one. Like I know we don't want to get very political, but
Well, you can. You can get as political as you want. I could care less.
Okay.
You don't have to, but I don't care. You can say whatever you want today.
Well, I thought this to blow up. I could say some pretty inflammatory things about China and Taiwan.
Say whatever you want to say. I really
No,
don't
joking.
care. Like I transparency and truth matters.
No, but I do tend toward the liberal side of things. And
What's that mean in regards to China and Taiwan?
but regards to Taiwan specifically, we just had a female president finish her second term. Our cabinet, or our Congress, our legislative body, I say our because I'm a permanent resident there, but I'm American, I swear.
We're going to find out today.
Yeah, is over 40% female. On top of that, there's no guns on the whole island. It's one of the safest places I've ever been. I could walk down Taipei, a city about the size of Chicago, any street, any time of day, and not feel scared. Back home in the States, already in 2 months, I realized like you have to have your guard up a little bit. You have to be mindful about where you are, and you don't have to do that over there. Education is cheap, food is cheap. First country in Asia to have gay marriage. So it ticks off every liberal thing. It's a comfortable place to live, and it's also a really thriving democracy. When I was there I think it was like 12 years ago, they had this during that. I remember they had that Malaysian airplane that disappeared. That took all the news internationally. But at that same time, some students ran into the legislature to overtake it, boarded up the doors, and didn't let anybody come in, and pretty much took over the government for a whole weekend. Now, if that happened here, I don't know what would happen to those students, but there, 1 million people went and protested into the street in support of the students because the president at the time was making some decisions that made the ties a little bit too close to China, and they wanted to stop that. And so it worked. So they shut it down. The president actually gave in a little bit, and the next election they voted him out. So it's just a thriving democracy that's actually really great to be part of, and it's sad when you think what's looming over top of it because it's so much a part of the Chinese, because I lived in China for a year and a half too, though. And it's so much a part of their identity to know that Taiwan is part of it, even though historically it was Portuguese and Dutch before that. So they don't really have claim on it, but it's so part of their identity that I think it's inevitable at some point. I just hope it happens as peacefully as possible.
Wow. How would that happen?
I don't know. I think what we're hoping for is what they'll do is more of a blockade as opposed to a straight out invasion to kind of, I don't know.
That still sucks.
Yeah, it really, really does. Especially when my business is based there. So not to make this about me or my business.
But it is about you and your business.
I know. But still, I mean, there's 22 million people on the island I'm more concerned about. But about that for my business, what we did do is we set up manufacturing and we'll get to what my business does. But we have plants in China and Thailand as well that we can operate outside of if we need to. So we're not limited to that. So we're talking to some bigger clients right now. Mm-hmm. And one of the first things they ask is about that. Like they want to know that their supply can be uninterrupted for,
Is it a concern about the interruption?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, because they just don't know what's going to happen about Taiwan. Now, for the longest time, I didn't believe it because, on an airplane, when you're going through turbulence and it gets a little shaky and you're not really scared unless the flight attendants are. If they're fine, everything's fine. That's how I was in Taiwan for 15 years.
So who are the flight attendants in this story?
Everybody, people at the market,
The
people watching the news, my husband, like everybody and his family. So we just, they didn't seem concerned because they've been dealing with it for several decades. And it is true that the U.S. tends to need to focus on something, and they chose to focus on this. So they were reporting all these flyovers of Taiwan by China, which had been happening for decades, but just hadn't been reported. But recently, it is get ramped up, and even in Taiwan now, the flight attendants are a little bit nervous. So it is ramping up. I'm just not sure where it's going to go.
You can't predict this. You spent 17 years there.
No, I can't, because I just don't get it. Because, how the U.S. is now best friends with Germany and England. I mean,
just wait, we'll change again.
I know, but it's just we had some pretty massive wars with them. Even Japan, they're our ally now. China though is different. They don't forget. For a long time, they don't forget.
For like hundreds and hundreds of years.
Right. And I think maybe it has to do with them being more in touch with their ancestry, or that's more of their daily lives, their ancestors. So that's more immediate for them than it is for us, maybe. I'm not sure what it is, but they still harbor so much anger against Japan. And then this Taiwan thing, they're never going to forget. Like right now in Taiwan, the majority of young folks don't even think of themselves as Chinese at all. They're just Taiwanese. That's all they've ever known. That's their democratic little island. great little country. That's all they define themselves as. There's some older guys, 90-year-old guys that still think they're going to go back to China and take it back after the Civil War. So you get that split. But now I think it's like 60% support independence and support a Taiwanese identity. So it is going in that direction.
Sounds like this country, though.
Yeah.
Right? It kind of sounds like the U.S.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit, except it didn't turn into with the U.S.
Vitriol.
Mm.
Yeah. Massive disagreement. Let's focus on what we don't have in common.
Yeah.
But is that way, though, that split of the 40 and 60% in Taiwan? Do you think 40%, if it's 60-40, do you think 40% of the people are like, no, I want to be a Chinese citizen? Like, is it that? And they just don't fight about it as much?
Well, no, but then with the people that, the younger people overwhelmingly support independence.
Yeah.
And there are some people in the Kuomintang, the KMT party, that support more of a unification with China. It's more of a fiscal reason, because they see the benefit of being good. I mean, they're an economic powerhouse next door, and why ignore that entire market? So there are people that they would rather have a stronger economy than the independence.
Boy, that's a big debate back to democracy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think China should this is going to sound really naive, but if they would, I think the Taiwanese could look at China as the motherland if they would just not be such dicks about it. And say like, yeah, they're horrible. They threaten them all the time. They have all these missiles pointed right at you, intimidating them. If they had said like, hey, let's open this up. We'll give you all these benefits for coming back to us. Let's do this. Let's reunite. Let's make this worth your while. I think the majority of Chinese would be like, all right, if we can keep some sovereignty, we're good to go with that. Like, not like they did in Hong Kong, because they teased with giving them a little bit of autonomy, but that didn't pan out. So I think that's what Taiwan is terrified about, because they are fiercely independent and thinking, so if it's not going to be easy, as small as Taiwan is, taking it back is not going to be easy.
Yeah. But aren't most humans, regardless of the culture that we come from, regardless of what race you're a part of, regardless of gender, aren't we fiercely independent kind of? Isn't that in our nature?
Well, I think that is very American. Like, I think one of the reasons I like living in Taiwan so much is, yeah, they are independent. They have this idea of independence about them, but at the same time, they have an idea of the community about them as well. And the community strength is as important as the personal. So I think sometimes the fierce independence in America gets in the way of the good of the country, of the good of the community of the whole.
I don't think sometimes.
Oh, you mean all the time?
Yeah, almost all the time.
But at the same time, though, some of that fierce independence gave rise to some human rights that you don't get in the other places too, though. So I think there is some benefit to that.
Hours and hours and hours.
Oh, we got a couple.
Yeah, right. Hey, we'll go longer than that if we have to. I think I have a 12:30. I think is what we have. But
I got to eat too.
Yeah, right. I think no. Unfortunately, I'm putting on a little 60-minute deal tonight for a lot of the realtors in the real estate company I operate, and it's called Truth Matters. And what that means is the truth matters about a real estate career. And what we all want to do in this world, we could have this awesome debate that my truth isn't the truth. It's not, because truth are facts. My truth is my opinion and how I see the world. It's not the truth. And so since I believe that about myself, I believe that about everyone else too. The word truth is wrong, because what's truth? There's no deviation of truth. Like, either it has 12 grams of sugar or it doesn't.
Right.
I can't look at that and say, well, to me, it tastes like it's more sweet. That's not a truth. The truth is it's 12 grams of sugar. If I put it into my body and you put it in your body, it's 12 grams of sugar. You might think it doesn't taste sweet. I might think it tastes sweet. So I saw a little bit of inside of you there, because I try to push back and hit these buttons a little bit. But it's not about, and that term, it shouldn't mean that people disagree over things. It's just like, let's just use the right words. And the truth matters. And the reason why I do that about real estate and about business, a lot of times, and we can get into your entrepreneurial journey and your cool company with Ecoshell, I want to talk about all that. But the truth, like, when it comes to a real estate career, you have to gain awareness. There's a lot of realtors. There's 12,000 realtors in Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky.
Seriously?
12,000.
Wow. What's the population of the area now?
So about 2.1 is the MSA.
Okay.
So 12,000 people. If you want to buy or sell a home, if you want to buy or sell commercial real estate, there's 12,000 plus or minus people that can help you do that.
Okay.
And so a lot of those people are very capable. Not all, but a lot of them are. And so what all those individuals need to do is gain awareness.
Yeah.
They have to gain awareness about the thing they're doing. And so as a real estate agent, you need to develop your skills. You need to come and make sure that you have the understanding, the knowledge to represent somebody. And then you got to let everybody know about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the truth. There's a lot of people that may get into our business that don't have the charisma, that can't talk to people in the way that you could walk in here and talk and have a conversation. That's going to hold them back in real estate. That's the truth. Mm-hmm. The truth also is they could overcome it, but they're going to have to work harder.
Oh, okay.
They're going to have to do more things. Now, what they could say is, well, Mark, my truth is I don't want to. Well, then the truth also is you're not going to have a career, right? And so I just think these opinions and truth. So what's the truth around Ecoshell? How about this? And then we can jump back on the other things too, because I don't just want to talk at people. I want to talk about people's perspective about it. About, to me, the truth about things are matter, and then I decide if I agree or not.
Yeah.
That's a way more healthy way.
So, but that, you raised a few ways I could talk about this.
Yeah.
Like I want to go in promotional mode and tell you all the great things about what my company does, what we represent, and what our opportunities are.
We're going to talk about you though.
But at the same time, it's like, what does it mean to me as part of this? And I'll go about that part first, because the promotional stuff gets boring after a while. But Ecoshell's great.
It does get boring.
Yeah, but it's not for me because I'm excited about it. But one of the things that while you're speaking that I thought of is because I've had some failed endeavors in the past, and one of the reasons that this stuck more is that I made my entrepreneurial journey as part of my personal journey, not the other way around. And I think when you do it the other way around, it becomes too important. Like you're willing it to succeed no matter what, and your whole self-worth is wrapped up inside of it. And if you do it the other way, if you just make this part of your overall growth journey, the overall growth arc, I think failures can then become, opportunities for learning, opportunities to learn about your character, opportunities to learn about what you made a mistake with your business. And it's not going to derail you completely. You're still on the path that you chose to be on. And when you define yourself entirely through your endeavor, it's overwhelming, and it just takes you over, and it's just you won't have the vision then for it to succeed. You've got this tunnel vision, and you're missing opportunities left and right because you need it too much. So so my truth for me is this finally became the thing that took off, I think, because I was as equally focused on other aspects of my life, which I think opened up to even more opportunities that way. Like not too much of a brag, I just got back from London. A friend of mine had an art gallery opening, Skylar Chen. He's an amazing artist. Anderson Cooper's collecting his work. He reached out to me with the opportunity to help him write a book for it. And he didn't want like a traditional gallery catalog or something like that. He didn't want a coffee table book where I explained what the painting is. We actually came up with a literary component to his artwork that kind of got you deeper into the artwork. We had a really unique take on it, and the reception has been amazing. So we got to fly over there, do all this other stuff. And I was really proud of myself that at the same time I'm opening up this Ecoshell, I got to go to this fancy gallery opening in London. And so it's important, I think, to be well-rounded like that and to make sure your growth is in every area, not just one.
So if you say important, it's not that I disagree, but why is it important?
See, here's the thing. You sound like where I went to graduate school. I went to graduate school out in Santa Fe. I studied the Great Books program out in Santa Fe. And there at graduate school, we're sitting around a big table like this, around a round table, called each other like Mr. Bliss. One of my best friends was Miss Widener, that she came to mind. But and we would debate these terms so much. We would spend an hour talking about, like, I think Aristotle meant blah, blah, blah. But this one word, it took me forever. So now you're dogging me on the word truth.
No, here's what's
important. I forgot.
Here's what's awesome, though, is like, hopefully that prepared you for this all those years ago, right?
Yeah, but it's been a while, man.
Well, here we go. We brought it back.
I don't know if my English is fluent anymore, but God, for a while.
No, it's great. So, but why do you think that is important to have the approach that you have? Like, I'm interested in people's opinions and what brought you here and why you think that way, because we all have these opinions, and can we help other people evolve and grow? Yeah. So why do you think that approach has been important?
Well, in one respect, simply because you're not a douche. I mean, if you all focus on making a lot of money, you make a lot of money, you drive a nice car, but you can't have a conversation about anything that's not about yourself, what are you going to do with it? What's the point of the whole thing? You're going to be 50, 60, 70 years old, financially successful, but otherwise bankrupt. And what's the way to wake up and live and be happy that way? So that's what I mean about making sure it's important to develop other areas of yourself alongside of your entrepreneurial journey. Yeah. That's the main reason.
There's one of the best thought leaders of all time. He's not with us anymore, but a guy named Jim Rohn. Mm-hmm. He said, you got to work more on yourself than you do on your job.
Yeah.
Right.
I get that.
Yeah. But we might not have gotten that 20 or 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. Kind of life teaches us lessons.
Well, and along the same lines, like, I think now it's easier for especially men to talk about wellness and all over health and wellness. And that was a big part of my journey too, though, because once I like if you're, sitting at your desk with an ashtray overflowing and 2 or 3 empty bottles of red wine, staring at your computer desperately, willing it to find you success, it's not going to happen. But if you're healthy, if you're take these steps to take care of yourself in all respects, then you're more open and receptive to success when you find it, and you're not missing opportunities because you're hungover or extra anxious because of what you've done. So, I think my wellness journey was right along. That sounds so corny too.
No, it is. But here's what I know is you had to you literally like. You must have put a point when you went to China. You're like, what's the furthest?
I wasn't healthy when I first went there.
That's what I'm saying, right? What's the furthest I can go away from here to start this journey? And I don't know if you would have called it your wellness journey then, but that's what it became.
A journey for sure,
right? And that's why maybe you have such an affinity for it too.
Yeah.
You were searching for this thing, maybe to become the Andrew that you should have become, the best version of yourself.
Well, the wellness thing started about 8-10 years ago. I think I hadn't quit smoking yet. I had been trying to quit smoking for 5 or 6 years. I was still drinking way too much. I mean, one bad thing about Taiwan is, I guess it's good, bad, but weed is still very illegal there, and there are no illicit drugs. There are hardly any, or it's just really hard to find. Found them sometimes.
So you're saying that it's good that we have the drugs for access?
Dude, what I meant by that was, so I didn't go too far when I was in Taiwan because you couldn't go too far, but I wasn't healthy. And so then I finally was like, if I can't quit this, if I don't have the mindset to actually do this, if I can't overcome a nicotine addiction, how do I expect to get successful with any of the businesses that I was working on at the time? So that's when I said, like, all right, that's enough. And the thing that finally did it for me was learning how to meditate and leaning into it, the discomfort of the cravings and everything else, and making that the daily habit. And then I got addicted to the neuroplasticity of the brain and all these other things you can do. And
now you're sitting here sounding like Andrew Huberman.
I am a little bit.
Hey, here we go, right?
Come on, bro.
Neuroplasticity, let's go.
No, but I even did his morning routine for about a month. It doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
This whole thing about waking up super early, taking a cold shower, and I mix that with the Wim Hof breathing thing in the mornings. And even if it's all bullshit, it gives me agency over myself, and it puts me. I don't feel like I'm just pinballing off. Sensory input. I'm actually have some bit of self-control or decision of the way my day goes. So even if it is bullshit, I still like the habit of it. And it
feels good though, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. How in the world you're a well-rounded individual now. You're an author. A friend calls you and says, hey, I have the art gallery opening. I have this awesome moment in my life. Will you write the book?
I know. That felt really good.
Right? It's cool.
Yeah.
And then you're sitting here coming up with this idea to connect Taiwan and Asia back to your roots of Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, and starting a packaging company that also has a twist on it to help the economy in the world. And so that's a well-rounded individual. And then you're sitting here talking about meditation, and we're invoking Huberman. It's like, wow, this is going to be fun today. But did you know that you were going to be on this journey?
I know. What do you mean by that? Does anybody know? I don't think.
Sometimes we set out on a pursuit.
One of the things but I think one of the things you have to give up on is the end of I've got. Here's the thing. Like when I used to teach university a while back in Asia, and a lot of the kids had no idea what they wanted to do. Because in Asia, a lot of times the parents choose your path for you, and they would ask, and I had trouble in school too. Like it took me forever to graduate my undergraduate because every class I took, every major I was in, and there were a lot of them, one of the first classes was how to find a career in this. And I just hated that. Like I didn't want to commodify like what I wanted to study. I just wanted to study. And then like figure stuff out about myself. I went to college way too early. But then after I got to a certain age, I had to give up that idea of, like I was jealous of my friend Katie, who's a doctor, and she knew she was going to be a doctor forever. She's got her self-definition and her contribution all in one thing. I wanted something like that. My other friend's a lawyer, this or that. I never found that, and I searched for it desperately. But then I gave up on that, and I thought, like, what kind of life do I want to live? Do I want to live in a big city? Do I want to speak other languages? Do I want to travel? Do I want to live abroad? And I had a list of things that I want to incorporate as an adult, but I didn't have a specific way to get there. I just made choices that got me on that. So that's the only future vision I had. So where I'm at right now, I never had a vision of. I think it's because I gave up that end vision of what I wanted to become in myself that I actually got to where I'm at now. If that makes any sense.
What do you want to become then? If it's not about the envision yourself, what's a daily pursuit?
Well, like I said, like it's not based on the success of my business or things like that. It's more based on the interactions I have with people and keeping and maintaining valuable relationships about me. Waking up in the day and giving back as much as I'm getting. I mean, I know that sounds corny, but I don't really have an end. pursued more. Yeah, I want to travel more. I want to be able to. It'd be great if I could own a place in Asia because I love living over there. I don't want to give it up forever, and a place over here because I love being around my family and my friends. I mean, it's been so surreal being able to come back to a place and be able to call who I consider rock stars in my life, these people that I love intensely, and I say, "Hey, want to go to dinner?" And I can do that now so easily, and it blows me away. But I'm so thrilled to be back. But I want to continue my travel. Like I love travel. I love going to new places. I was abroad for 21 years, went everywhere in Asia, but this past time in London was my first time in Europe. That I was so stupid too. I thought like, oh no, they left the EU, so I can't say I've been to Europe. And I thought, oh no, that's politically, not geographically. So anyway, so yes, I've been to Europe now. But I've got a bunch of friends there now. One good thing about being based abroad, and you meet other people that like being based abroad, is I've got good friends now all throughout Europe where, make a really soft landing. They tell you where to go, what to do, even give you a place to stay if you need. So I'm ready to start the European leg of the discovery, but I'm way off the question you asked me.
No, it's good. Is the world way smaller than we think it is?
Oh, way smaller. Like I thought, yeah, it's in some respects, so, but I can't say that because I've only been to Asia and Europe. So I mean, there's a whole world. Like I'd love to go to Africa and South America. There's a lot of places that I think it is actually bigger than I thought. And I think once I was actually, you know what? Once I got out of speaking only English, I was able to see that like the world is bigger than you think. There's other ways to experience it, other ways to view it. That helped a lot. So
is there different nuance with? I don't speak any other languages. When I hear Spanish a little bit, I can understand some things. And French isn't too different than Spanish. You can pick up a few different things between them. But I can't speak the languages. But do you learn something new when you start speaking under other languages? Or is it literally just talking to the person the same way in their language?
No, in fact, because of that, one of the first words I had to learn in Chinese is "wo dui ni kai wan xiao," which means I'm joking.
That doesn't sound like a word.
Well, I know, phrase, sorry. But which means I'm joking because I would try to be sarcastic when I first met people, and I have a really dry sense of humor, and sarcasm's not really a thing where I was living, I guess. And so nobody understood when I was joking. So I said, teach me how to say I'm joking because I learned that quickly. And I think, I forgot to press my little cough button. I apologize.
Okay. They know you're human now.
Right. But one of the things I liked about studying Chinese, though, is when I say I'm fluent, I'm not horribly fluent. I have a couple Chinese dreams. I can get by in business. I'm fine going out to drinks with friends and chatting people up and making jokes. But there's still occasionally a topic where I haven't studied the vocabulary. I'm like, I don't quite know how to express this. So I'm not, but it's okay.
Maybe the nuance to the language is tough.
I know it enough to understand it, like what it means. And I do like it is more conceptual. They have like English is good as you have all these little tiny words and articles that explain exactly 100% how you are different from anybody else. But their language is more about, okay, let's use the same words and let the context let us know what's going on. But they're not so exact with their language as English is.
Does that mean you can go city to city and it's a little bit different?
No, but geez, China, like every city has their own dialect.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's crazy over there. Taiwan has its own dialect too. That I can only speak the bad words. I learned,
why just those?
Because I'm old and I only have. Come on, I just didn't have time. Like, and I was just launching businesses. Studying Chinese was.
You're
enough.
Such a nice guy. You didn't have time to learn the nice words.
Oh no, but I got that playing mahjong. So when you get angry, you have to yell at the Taiwanese at the people who just like took your trick or something like that. So I learned that everybody learns the bad words. I have a funny memory. When I was in, everybody learns dirty words first. When I was in 7-Eleven shopping one day, little kids were going like, "Hi, foreigner," blah blah blah, and he looks at me and goes, "Fuck you!" Like, and he's like a 6-year-old kid, but that's the first language that he learned.
And he smiled while doing it.
Absolutely, he had no idea.
That was his affinity for everything that we're doing American, I guess.
But back to that, studying the language, it did let me know that people experience the world differently, and their language is more of a community coming together with the words. As ours is, I want to differentiate the way I got my own speaking style. I have my own inflections. I got my style, my choice of vocabulary. They kind of agree to choose on this is what we use to communicate. So you lose some of that. So that was different for sure.
Are outsiders welcomed there?
Yeah, we're treated better actually. I always joke with my Taiwanese friends that everybody says the Taiwanese are so nice, and it's like, yeah, to us, to yourselves, you guys are mean, and it's true though because they're really, I mean, they love each other. Don't get me wrong. It's just they don't have a lot of the nice words that they use for us. Like my husband, his family, I tell my mom I love her every time I talk to her. He can't remember the last time he told his mother that he loved her. And And when he left to come with me to the States, Andy was even, my husband's name is Andy, and I'm Andrew. I know.
Wow.
I know.
Is that his real name?
No, his real name was Hu Kunnan, but he chose the English name Andy long before he met me. I'm not so narcissistic.
I was going to say, I don't believe this. Am I supposed to believe this today? Okay, this is good though.
No, he's been Andy for a long time.
So his mom, they don't share affection that way?
Right. No, he was saying, should we hug? And she's like, no, I'm okay. I mean, but I know his mom loves her, loves him, loves me. I mean, and I feel love from that family a lot. It's just not expressed It's expressed through food most of the time. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, you look too skinny, eat more, eat more. I mean, that's more how they show their love, but they don't need to say outright, I love you. They just know it's like, who are you living with? Who's in your life? I'm still here. So obviously I love you. Why do I need to say it? So it's just different for me because I'm pretty expressive with my emotions.
Why come back?
I miss my mom. No, well, that's part of it actually.
Yeah, I saw you smiled the biggest you smiled here in 20 minutes when you talked about your people here.
Uh-huh.
Like you're a happy guy smiling, but it changed a little bit. A few minutes ago when you said coming back and calling them and going to dinner, you felt something.
Yeah. I haven't had it for 21 years. Like I hadn't felt like as welcomed as I was in Taiwan. And I was. They're very, very friendly, very open. China too. Walking down the street, I look a little bit confused. 10 people would run over and help me, invite me to dinner. That happened at least 5 times. Walking down the street, strangers would ask me in. Most of the time, it turned out they wanted me to practice English with their child. But
that's really what it was.
Yeah, a lot of times. But other times, they just like, oh, we want you to learn about our culture, and we want to learn about yours. So it was really friendly. Really, it was a great experience. But that said, it wasn't my people. It wasn't my place. It wasn't my history. Like that could be my people if I'd born there, moved there when I was 3. But I knew I was a foreigner there. Even though I was there for like 18 years, 21 years total, 18 in Taiwan, I think. But coming back, sometimes I'm just walking or just driving down the street and I'll go around a turn that I hadn't for like 30 years. And like, I feel this pang, this feeling of belonging that I hadn't felt for a long time. And I don't think I'll stay here forever, but it feels really, really good while I'm here. And I missed a lot. I missed, right before COVID happened, my mom had cancer. I couldn't come home and be home all the time. She totally beat it. She did great with it. But I couldn't be part of that. Birthdays, tragedies, celebrations, I just couldn't be a part of. And so now, like just last weekend, my brother had an impromptu barbecue because his daughter was back down from Chicago. And I thought like, I can go to this. And I was just so excited to be able to do it. And I hadn't been able to do that. So I get really happy when I think about that. And that's one of the benefits of coming home. And to be honest, I was still being kind of arrogant on my move back. I was coming back to the West for the business because my business is really focused on sustainability and plastic reduction, helping companies meet these mandates. And we'll get that. We will talk about the business at some point, right?
At some point, if you want somebody to buy some things from you, maybe.
That'd be great.
But usually we buy things from people that we like.
Yeah. Okay.
So
all right. So I'll try to be friendlier. But
we only know the curse words.
All right. So when I first was coming back, I was arrogantly insisting that I was not going to come back to America. I was like, I left that country. My identity was tied up in not being the expat guy, the guy who works abroad. So I was insistent that we were going to set up our business in Canada. And not only because I was being an idiot, but also because I had a good friend there that I met in Korea that she returned. She was based in Fredericton, out in New Brunswick, and we actually have an office up there already established. And she's female, indigenous, native there, First Nations, and putting the business in her name and ownership was going to be great help from the government as far as benefits from the government in terms of grants, and even larger corporations would have tax breaks from dealing with us through that business. But the government just wasn't fast. I mean, it's just so slow. We've been waiting almost 2 years for a grant that they said we'd get in about a month, and it's just driving us crazy. So regardless, I was moving back
to the good US of A to do good business.
No, because at first I was going to come back. I was just going to stay in Cincinnati area for about 3 months. I figured like I just wanted to live with my people for a little bit before I moved on. Everything changed.
Awesome we are.
Yes, I did.
Remembered again.
I remembered, and I also remembered, how great America is for business. Yes. I mean, everything that I wanted to do, like Lee Bledsoe introduced me to Tom West with the Covington City. Mm-hmm. And like he opened up 1 million doors, and Susan Smith has been amazing and just said like, oh, here's exactly what you need. Here's what you need for Kentucky. You need to talk to this person in terms of grants. Those are already, it just moved so fast. And I was like, And then, just that feeling that I got with my friends and my family again, it's like, why would I not do this? Even if just for 3 to 5 years, just come back, do this, have a base here and keep your base abroad. You don't have to reject that. So it just made so much sense. And in terms of immigration, because if I was going to go up to Canada, I could only go up on a work permit. We have the NAFTA, I forget what they call it now, but I would get a work permit just from being American, and my husband would get his for being my dependent.
Okay.
But after 2 years, I would have no residency because I'm over 50. So when you're over 50, you don't get a certain amount of points that you get for residency.
You're not as productive for the society,
or
something.
I'm going to go up there and leech off the system or something like that. So it didn't make sense. After 2 years, we'd be like, okay, what do we do now? And so then we talked to an immigration lawyer here and found out that my husband could just change his status while he's here, apply. He's under application now, and he's going to have his green card in a few months. So it just made so much more sense in the long term just to stay here. And I'm really glad I did.
Good. Welcome back.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
How long you been here?
Just 3 months. I've been back about 3 months.
So you said something about how good the U.S. is for business. I'm not going to let you off that easy. There's a reason why it's so good for business. The underpinning of that is the people.
Yeah.
Because we could change not being good for business. Because we could. Because what's taking you 2 years in Canada didn't used to be that way.
Really?
It didn't, no. No, I followed a lot recently where it's just become more difficult.
Oh, really?
Yep. There's just, and so this is, again, like I'm registered independent. Too many times people want to say these things are political. No, they're not. No, the truth is,
you're about to take it there, aren't you?
Well, here's the reality though. It's not political. It's like the reality is, it was taking a really long time for you all to accomplish something that shouldn't take that long. And so in the U.S., it just doesn't take that long.
Right.
Now, there's still more bureaucracy than there ever was here, right? But it's way easier compared to anywhere else. The people are the ones who do that.
Right.
And so if it's good for business, it's good for business because the people make it good for business.
Right.
So I'm just making sure we don't miss that.
But
right.
at the same side of it too, though, being more open to new business, being more encouraging for it, making the avenues easier.
Look how welcoming to your new idea, coming back after 20 years, and you come to town and you find the people that are helping you open up all these doors to say this is the way.
But do you think that makes it easier for the bad side of business to also thrive?
Absolutely.
Here?
I don't think you can have good without bad, unfortunately.
See, like in Taiwan, it's very conservative and very safe. Like just to open up a bank account takes 3 hours at the bank. Transferring U.S. dollars over here, like I'm hurting right now because I'm trying to transfer myself money to my new bank account here, but I actually have to be physically in my bank with my stamp to sign 20 papers.
In Taiwan to do it?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just, I'm trying to do it with my accountant right now. It's just so annoying, but they're just so conservative and it actually gets in the way. And I lost my temper once. I was like, your job at the bank is supposed to be helping my business succeed, but you are a blockade for you.
But it's
You're
not
getting in
about
the way
you.
of it.
That's what they say. This isn't about you.
Yeah.
Right. It's probably about the country. It's about the organization.
Right.
It's about the things they believe. And maybe that is what way too often what drives me crazy about this country at times. I don't have the perspective you had of getting outside and experiencing different things, but I get this perspective here that we aren't good, man. There's still a ton of awesome, great people that I engage with every day.
Yeah.
That if we just stop and slow down, we're all different. You mentioned a couple of times it was important for you, Taiwan. It was the first Asian country to either legalize same-sex marriage, I think, right?
Yeah.
And then you talked about you and your husband. But just go inside of the gay or the LGBT community. Not everyone's the same. There's massive difference there on the things people believe, on the ideas that they have.
Yeah.
That's not terrible.
No.
I don't know what happened to us where we started highlighting the differences that we all have instead of realizing like, hey, there's a lot of good shared human experience here that we really do want good things for other people. I don't know what happened.
But could you highlight the differences and still celebrate when
We should.
let them be different?
Yep.
Like it opens up more opportunities for people that feel stuck in a rut that they don't know the opportunities exist for other alternative ways to live.
And I don't know why it feels so dangerous to talk to people that just have different opinions that we have. Like if I go back, we talk about Lee, our shared really good friend.
Yeah.
And I recruited him to come work with my real estate company 16 or 17 years ago.
Yeah.
Like the idea of him being gay was irrelevant to me. And that was 16 or 17 years ago, and our country's grown a lot since. It literally was irrelevant. I didn't care.
Wait, Lee's gay?
Yeah, here we go, right? Of course. I think yes, you knew this.
Gross.
So, but here's what's funny. Get gross, right? But here's what's funny is like I don't look at him. See, I talk about all these things. I don't think that's his identity to me.
No, it's not.
in this world, these things that make us different, we're trying to make them our identity. Like the things I believe politically, it's not my identity. The thing, if I would be religious, I'm not anymore, it's not my identity.
Yeah, I would talk to, this brings me up to a conversation. God, this sounds posy, but I had a conversation with somebody who was in London, and he was talking about, he was proud of himself that he's never had his own tribe. And he's gay as well, but inside the gay community or outside of it, politically, whatever, or religious, spiritual, anything, he's been tribe adjacent to many different tribes. And I think that might be the healthier way to go about it. I'm jealous of people that found their gig and they feel so sustained by it. But I think I was more like him. I've never been one of those people to say like, okay, this is it. This is all I want to do. And I think it's
the awesome way. And here, I had someone on the other day. It was a virtual that we did. Yeah. A guy accomplished some really big things in Portland in the Northeast or Northwest. And he said instantly, he's like, hey, Mark, he was in his 70s, really accomplished. And he said, you know, I can sit here talking to you. You're there's no judgment about you at all. You know what? That's not something many people invoke. And I said, how can you tell that? He's like, it's just how you talk, man. And so when I don't have a tribe, I'm not judgmental of the other tribes.
Right.
So, but then that's in contradiction to the thing, like if you don't believe in anything, you believe in nothing.
Right.
So
because I don't want people find so much comfort in their tribes. I don't want to take that away from them or challenge them on that.
Yeah, but the problem is there's really good people that aren't in their tribe too.
Right.
And that's the tough thing that we can't identify and don't understand. Like, right, we get into this ideology. Ideology is fine, right? Creates things. But we get into this ideology that our way is the right way. Well, maybe not for everyone. And so, but what I go back to with me and Lee, I remember 16 or 17 years ago, the way I was raised, I'm mid-40s now, I was raised really religious. What usually goes with religious people is a conservative approach, usually. And so what I learned about religion is it's very judgmental. Massively judgmental. I don't care what anybody says it is. Because they believe in their thing and everyone else is wrong. It just is what it is. There's an evolution in spirituality. But you couldn't have told me as the 16-year-old kid that was growing up that I was then going to start a company. If I went to my tribe and how I was raised, that then I would consistently go to lunch with a guy that was gay, and I'm heterosexual, and have, yeah, here we go, right? And have zero, and here's what's funny, and have zero concern about what people think about me, sitting down consistently, going to lunch with him at a Chez Noir in Mainstrasse. And so I know what people are probably thinking. This might be a date. He might be gay. It was irrelevant.
Back in the day. I think now
it's irrelevant now, but then that was true.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
And so I didn't care. Those things didn't matter to me. So then through this entire journey for me, it's like, wow, self-esteem and confidence really matter.
See, amazing that you said that. Like, I didn't achieve that level of, I had a fear of judgment for so long. I think it's one of the reasons I moved to the other side of the world, just because in the States, I was just kind of paralyzed by the idea that there was a judgment based on how you were defining yourself socially. Like, even if you're just a hipster, all right, what books have you read? Like, how well are you defining, living up to this idea of what a hipster is, or this or that? And as soon as they found out you're gay or this or that, they think, oh, okay, gotcha. I know you. And it used to just drive me crazy. So like, I wanted to, when you live abroad, you live in this beautiful space where you're released from your home culture because you're far away from it. And you're the foreigner in the new culture, so you're not judged by that either. So it's complete freedom to just, and I just needed that. It nourished. And there is when I could actually start my journey or my wellness or figuring everything else out about myself, because I needed to get out from under that. Maybe that was just from my genetics, or maybe it's just from growing up gay and back in the 80s, which was, not the
Tough.
Easiest. Yeah. I was telling somebody the other day that actually went to high school. Remember that old T-shirt? Remember Raid kills roaches?
That sounds so gay, Andrew.
No, Raid.
I'm joking.
You're gonna feel bad when I say something because they had this bug spray. Raid kills bugs dead.
Yeah, it kills humans too.
Right. In my high school, people would wear AIDS kills fags dead to class, and like, you're a closeted guy just going like, oh, I don't know if this is the best time to be going through puberty. Like, it was
very uncomfortable.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Maybe going abroad, maybe what it allowed you to do was, then you realize all these people that didn't know you, they were just going to judge you and evaluate you based on the person that you were, how you treated others, the character that you had. Right. That's the way it should be. That's what I'm saying. Like, all these tags don't matter to me. It just matters to me, like, who you are as a human and how you're treating others. Like, how are you participating in this world? You can have your bad day. You can learn curse words and be pissed at the person at the bank sometimes. But then inside knowing, like, hey, that's probably not the best way.
And to circle back to what you're saying about religion, I don't think religion gives that to people. I don't think religion allows that growth for people, to make you a better person, to let you grow, and to not let other people's judgment affect you so much.
Politics doesn't either.
Yeah, some spirituality does.
Yeah,
I mean,
no spirituality. Listen, there's who knows what the hell's going on, man.
Yeah, I do.
Tell us.
It's about eggshells. No,
I'm not going to let you off the hook that easy.
Dude,
So
I was joking. I have no idea.
here we go. Scientology, we're coming your way.
I just latch on. It's like, okay, that makes sense. No, I just think, oh, it's all game theory. I'm just down here getting experience points for my next game. But like, you just find what works or whatever. Like, I don't know. It's just, but I do agree with what you're saying about religion. I remember, not to harp on the whole gay thing the whole time, but again, I was a kid. I went to a Presbyterian church here in town. My family went to church, but not necessarily religious. It was more for, let's go to church and put on our clothes.
But that feels good at times. Yeah, I felt good sitting
the
in
ritual,
pews different.
Right?
Yeah.
But anyway, we had this one. I think it was around Easter or something. But anyway, we could all write our sins down on a little piece of paper, and I wrote down there like, "Stop making me gay" or something like that. You fold it up. We take turns nail it on the cross, and then they took it outside to the little fellowship area outside, and they burned it. And I remember, and I thought, oh, I didn't think about a burning cross until just now, actually. I hope that was a church. Joke. But I remember watching my paper, and it's like it wasn't burning. It was unburned. I had to call. I actually yelled out, and it's like, make sure that one burns, because I was terrified of anybody opening that up and finding out that it was me. But I don't know why did I bring up this story?
I don't really know, but
organization.
But I think too about I said I don't know what's going on out here, and you're like, yeah, we do.
Oh, right.
And then you decide to kick it somewhere else. Yeah.
Oh no, but nobody does.
What do you really think's going on?
I think we have monkey brains that has no idea what's going on, and I think, like, you know how our visual spectrum, you can only see this much, but there's all this other stuff going on that we just can't see. I think when you approach the world with logic is great, and it explains so much. But I think there might be a limit to what it does. Just like there's other things going on that we can't, in our temporal mindset, we just can't figure out. We just can't comprehend. So for us to try to figure this out, I'm not saying it's a waste of time, because it's propelled a lot of our evolution and scientific and otherwise. It's pushed us forward, and we got to keep that search out to try to figure it out. But I don't know if we're ever going to be capable to figure it out, because I don't know if our brains can get around it. If that makes sense. But I like that analogy. Like, I just think I think that's why some psychedelics help, or some meditation, some chanting. It gets you out of the normal spectrum that you usually view the world in, and it may give you a view of, what the truth is, what the reality is.
We talked about meditation a while ago.
Yeah.
What is meditation to you? Because it actually means different things to different people. What is it to you?
Well, it varies. Like, sometimes when I have high anxiety today, it's just nothing more than a body scan or something like that, just to get me down to a place where I can actually be productive. Other times when I'm more centered in a better place, it's more expansive. It's more, it's calming for sure, but it also opens things. It opens up to potential ideas and thoughts that otherwise would have been blocked out, I think.
Why start a new business?
Well, I think, like you, and I think real estate shares this in the terms of, I think I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. I've never been able, I don't knock people that work for businesses at all. I mean, if you're married, you have kids, you need to provide a life for people. You need to get a job, just do it. I mean, I think being gay helped push me out into a more untraditional life, or a way that I could find myself. Yeah, I think it made it easier for me to do that, especially since I wasn't married and getting kids when I was 25 or 30 and following that pattern. But
why start the business?
Oh, why start the business? Okay, that's right. Because I think I have always been entrepreneurial in that respect. Waiting tables, like, it's essentially your own little domain. Yeah, you have a boss like Lee. God, he was could you imagine working for him?
I can imagine it, but I wouldn't choose it. You made a bad choice, is what you did.
No, but that was great though. He always managed and worked at fantastic places. So yes. He introduced a great world to me.
You know what I think? What's
important? But I was undone.
You go to it, but
okay.
He cared about doing what he did well.
Right. Oh, he did. You did a great job.
So that's really good,
right.
And that's carried over into real estate. So anyway, right. The business,
and then even teaching at university, that was my domain as well. Sure, I had the dean that I had to report to and things like that, though. But I defined my own time. I'm not good when I have other people define my time for me, or limit it, or say, like, these are your hours where you must be productive, and outside of that's your own time. Like, I just can't operate that way. I need to, like, I'm really productive super early in the morning, take a break, another couple hours productivity, go to the gym at night, another couple hours. And I need to split up my day like that. And I'm so much more productive. And I need to operate like that. I need to I need to schedule and define my own time. And I just know that about myself. So that's why I knew that I had to start a business. So The first time I started a business, I was so stupid. I loved it. I loved what I did. It was called The Adventurous Mailbox. I wrote a series of adventure books that were really liked them. They were really, really good. There's this whole team that wanted to fight a homogenous culture. They wanted to protect the beauty of the individual cultures from around the world as they were getting swallowed up. There's a team that had all these superpowers. And it was like this book of 8 that kids would get one by one in the mail. And we had a full lesson plan for teachers and homeschoolers to use along with it. Then we developed a whole computer coding manual where they could do their own programs on the computer based on what the stories that they read. And I was so proud of it. We won some awards and the stories were really good. But I was so focused on the creative part of it that I had no idea how to run a business. I honestly, when my website went live, I had the boxes ready thinking it was just going to start. I had no idea. I didn't know what to do. And then it was like, oh wait, what is SEO?
What's sales and marketing? What is this thing? Right.
Yeah.
It's just great. Everybody loves this.
Right.
Who doesn't want this thing?
Right.
Well, they need to know about it.
Yeah. And I thought, oh, I have some really clever Instagram posts. I was like, that'll do it. Or I'm just like, I've got like $500 in my pocket. I'll boost a post. That'll do it. But I had no idea what I was doing. So, but that was good though, because, you know, I was arrogant with it when I started the business. I thought like, well, I'm smarter than some business folks. I can figure this out. I mean, I'm not stupid, but then there is a science to it. There is a canon of knowledge you need to learn from in order to do this well. I just didn't know. So I started my business school there in Taiwan. My second failed business was, what was it? Sparks Solutions. That was where I have a good friend from India over there. And he works for a fastener company. And he says, with my language skills, I would be able to set up shop pretty easily, helping manufacturers here in America find the screws, nuts, bolts, and stuff that they needed in Taiwan and Southeast Asia. And I did it. I was fine. Like I said, hey, what do you need? Okay, I found it. Put on my 10%, ship it back to them. And
so you're a broker.
Yeah, but it was boring and I hated it. And you have to learn all these different things about the grades of the screws and this or that. And I just hated it. And I just really, really hated it. And then this is another big eye-opening thing. I got scammed big time. And when COVID hit, I transitioned more into like healthcare and getting some stuff that the world needed and stuff. And then we did nitrile gloves for a bit, and I sold a bunch, and that was fine.
What are those?
It's the blue gloves that they needed to keep
that feel powdery when you put them on.
Yeah.
What is that?
Powder.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay.
They powder them so they go on and off.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah, so they don't stick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm smart.
Yeah. It's powder.
They feel powdery. Yeah, Mark, really powdery.
Yeah. But you can get them without powder. I mean, some do. But and so I had this client that needed to buy a huge amount, and they were looking for a very specific brand of gloves. So I reached through my network in Taiwan. We found somebody in Malaysia that had it. I hooked up everybody because you couldn't travel. So we toured the factory. We saw everybody. We saw the boxes. We saw the gloves. I showed the contract to my client, and I was still teaching at university at this time. And I said, like, listen, this is new for me. If this looks good for you, it's good. This is a multi-million-dollar transaction. And then, you know, a few months later, the delivery came where it's getting shipped to in Europe, and the containers were full of bricks. So the clients got completely 100% scammed out of millions of dollars.
What happened to the factory that you saw in the gloves?
That was just bogus. There was some guy that just tricked us all. Like, and I like it was done. It's not like it's like him in front of the factory waving in the background. And he was touring the factory. I was seeing the workers. And they had all the certificates and everything else checked out. We did our due diligence, and the company, which is a like billion-dollar multinational, they did their due diligence on me and this company, and they got tricked too.
How much money are we talking?
They ended up losing about $5 million, which for them is not a lot, but for me, like a university professor at the time, like I was like, am I
responsible?
Yes.
Is this? Yes.
Right. I was terrified, and you know, I didn't make anything from it. Like whatever I did was returned to them, so I never profited from it. But they just luckily cut it as their loss because they knew that I didn't do anything, and I had this whole history chain of all these emails of their managers approving the transaction. So it was terrifying. But
what did you learn from that?
People suck. Like I had not, because I came from, like I said, I came from academia. I came from educational publishing and things like that. People are generally okay. They're focused on stuff. I didn't realize that people will just lie to you and actually potentially hurt people. Like they're at that same time, people are getting scammed with used gloves, used
masks,
and all that stuff that could potentially really harm people. And I didn't know. I was naive to that. Like I didn't know there were people out there that would actually do that for you just so they could make a little bit of money and, you know, maybe cause the death of several hundred people just to make a few extra bucks. Like I was surprised by that.
You know what everybody needs to realize? See, we're not talking about American citizens. We're talking about people from other cultures too. That's what everybody needs to understand. We get in this little bubble. It's like, hey guys, there aren't just bad people in your culture and society. Before we put all these lines around ourselves and said this country and this, we're humans. And humans, unfortunately or fortunately, what I found is there's some things that separate and make us different.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of shared things about us.
Yeah.
And we're humans.
Yeah. 100%.
And so people do suck.
Mm-hmm.
Once you realize that, then you can go out and make sure you identify the ones who suck and then focus on a lot of the ones who don't.
I think our suckiness actually was beneficial at some point. Like back in the day when we were like...
To protect us?
Yeah. Or like if our group of people had a couple guys that would roll over there, kill everybody, take their food and water, that was good for us.
Like Genghis Khan.
Right. So we survived better, and that's in our genetic makeup. And at the same time, though, those that were more altruistic, those that had more love in them, are also made us survive better. So both those go hand in hand. So as much as love and compassion, I think, is part of all of us, I think the evil is part of us too. I think it's in our genetic makeup that
it's all within us.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it helped us in the past, and I think it's just still left over.
So does the good guy finish last?
I don't know. I don't know. I will find out. Not always. I mean, there's some good guys that succeed, right? Right.
I'm asking you the question.
Yeah, I'm sure some good guys succeed, but I don't think any human can ever get outside of being selfish at some point. I think we're all selfishly motivated. Even the ones that do good every day, I think they like the feeling of it. I think there's selfish motivation there. Like,
if you can find altruism though and selfishness, maybe that's the right combination.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Possibly.
Mother Teresa. I mean,
well,
I take
or myself, like what I'm doing now.
Here we go. Modern day Mother Teresa, just in a new body.
No, but go back to what you're asking about before. So after my failed attempts and after my business school by fire, then I kind of realized like I needed to have something that I was more emotionally involved in, even intellectually. So then I started a consulting company in Taiwan I love Taiwan. I hope that came through earlier.
I think it's come through.
Right. But so sad what's going to happen. But anyway, and I wanted to give back to people because I met a lot of people that were just at that small stage that they didn't have the staff or the understanding to actually expand to the West, though they had a product that would actually do well. So I set up a new company, more of a consulting company, to help them with their branding or how to do their website or how to name their products or how to find their sales channels, just to help them expand westward if they had that goal about them, or to teach them how to do it. And that's where I found my partner. Then through him, I got to also add my interest in not destroying the environment with too much plastic. So I got to combine two things. I got to really represent some Taiwanese tech proudly, bring it to the States and help them thrive, and also bring in some technology that's really going to help reduce the plastic consumption in North America. So it helped me. And when I was able to tie these different parts of myself together into my business, then it started taking off. So I think that's an important part of it.
So why are you the guy?
What do you mean?
Well, the business. You're the guy with this idea. So why are you the guy? You came up with this idea with Ecoshell that you want to go out here and change and help the world, help society. Like, why are you? Why are you the guy to start this business, to run the business, to make a difference, to make a profit, to make an impact in the world? Like, why are you?
Well, even if I wasn't knowing I was doing it, I put all the motion into action. I put it into action, and I just had to own that. And I needed to say like, oh, I actually caused this all to happen. And it's and I just needed to assume the role essentially. Like I had the ideas, but like. And also, I kind of just looked at what my assets were. Like I knew I wasn't stupid, and I knew I wasn't smart enough. Like I like to study some physics or some science sometimes just to understand it, but I can't manipulate it. I can't operate within it, but I can understand it and maybe translate that to help other people understand it. So I'm at like that middle stage.
The engineering part of the thing, is that what you're
right? And even like this chemistry, the science behind what I'm representing. Like I love learning about it. Like, but I could never be the inventor of it, and like I never studied the chemistry, and I don't know if I could. But I can understand it, and I can certainly brand it, and I can also help it, other people understand it, what the benefits are and things like that. So I found my place there. I knew that I had the language skills. I had a base of operations over there. I had relationships with all these manufacturers that I got from my sourcing days. So I put all the pieces together and said, what can we do here? And it just seemed to fit. So I think you just have to be aware of what your assets are, and also see the opportunity when you see it. Just put it together and actually finally own it. Don't. For the longest time, I was, you have imposter syndrome sometimes, especially since I struggled so long. Even just recently, like we're going through a fundraising time. I've got people that are giving some money to the company, which is great. But at the same time, it's like, oh, this is all based on what I've said and what I've done and what I've presented for them. So then I panic. I go back and I check all of our patents. I check all of our certificates. I check everything again. I'm like, oh, wait, this is really legit. This is great.
Yeah, they're investing in you.
Right. And I know that. And that's terrifying. So it's just like, wait, and that's what I say about imposter syndrome. So then I go back and I make sure that everything, I don't want to be, because I met so many scam artists along the line, and there is probably a fine line between somebody that raises people's interest in a valuable project versus a bogus one, like the scam artist in New York, or all these millions of dollars, and there's nothing there.
There's a big debate around significant entrepreneurs like an Elon Musk and stuff.
Right.
Right.
Wait, can I first say again, though, if there's any potential investors listening?
You're not a scam artist.
Right. No. Yeah, I went back and I would study the patents, and I studied the certificates. I talked to Travis, and the science was legit. And I look at our competition, and we really do have an amazing product at the ideal time right now. So but even then, it's hard to own it. It's hard to.
Why me? Like, why am I the person? Why are they investing in me? Like, because if you come to this with significant confidence and self-esteem, like, yes, I can.
Right.
I can go out here and conquer the world. That imposter syndrome doesn't show up as much.
That, and also I think I romanticized not being successful for too long. It was like, I'm different. I'm counterculture. I'm this or that. Like, and it was so stupid.
Be careful what you tell yourself. You start believing it.
Right. And I think like all this potential success, I was like, I didn't accept it. I didn't want it. Like I was like, but once I was open to accepting it, and then I realized like, ooh, all this work that I've been doing on myself and that all this exploration I've done, it's put me at an ideal vantage point to actually take this business to the next level.
Correct.
Like I'm looking at things in a different way that other people aren't. Grew up through business school, didn't do it through life experience. So it put me in an ideal state.
That the previous Andrew didn't think.
Right. Exactly. So the idea is trusting yourself and loving yourself enough to accept it and to say like, all right, I put this, I made this happen. This is all legit. Just accept it and love it. And also the other people are going to benefit from your effort. I mean, the people who've invested in us, the consumers who are using less plastic, the environment, the companies that I'm representing over in Taiwan, it's a win-win for everybody. And I just needed to not be such an idiot.
Yeah, this imposter syndrome, I didn't even hear about this till like 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where it came from. Whoever coined the term.
They did a good job.
They did, but I want to throw a brick at them. So those bricks that were in the boxes where the gloves were supposed to be, I want to throw a brick at them because it shouldn't be a thing. Naming it's not the bad thing. You name something that existed.
So why are you going to throw a brick at them?
Because it's so detrimental. It is detrimental. Here's the thing. It's the idea of that we should feel like we're imposters to something that we're actually in the midst of and doing.
Right.
So a lot of people are dealing with this.
Yeah.
They are. And what I want to do is I just want to take a step back and be like, hey, you're doing it though. Right. You're doing it. You have the receipts.
Right.
There's proof there. Come on. Hey, thanks for tuning in. If you like these types of conversations, be sure to follow The Necessary Entrepreneur on your favorite platform so you never miss out on future content.
No, that's where meditation helps and things like that, where you just realize you accept it, you're open to it, and you let it happen. But like even when I was in London this past time, I've said that way too much. I've only been there once, and I've referenced it like 20 times already. But Skylar, he's starting to get my artist friend. He's starting to get really successve. One of his paintings sold for over like 50,000 pounds. So he's like up there. He's not like at the top echelon, but he's doing really well for himself. And even he, just like I've known him for a long, long time. We actually met. He's Taiwanese, but he lives in the Netherlands now. And we actually met at this really interesting intersection where I had moved to the south of the island, dealing with this horrible personal situation with the person I was seeing at the time, and he was back to Taiwan for the exact same reason. And we met at the gym, of course, and then at like within 5 minutes of knowing him, like I just opened up everything about what I was going through, and it turns out he was going through the same thing. And like when the universe gives you a gift like that, you just got to like latch onto it. So he's just been a dear friend ever since then. So he now is struggling with the success. He's like, because he struggled so long for it. Now that it's happening, it's like, wait, is this real? So it's hard to accept it when failure or the struggle has been part of your definition for so long. So then all of a sudden it's like, ooh, wow, things are turning around. You don't let yourself believe it straight away. So I just think it's a temporary mindset when you get that way. Like, unless you're one of the rare ones that get successful overnight.
Well, we need to make it temporary. That's the point, right?
And you think naming it makes it longer?
As long as somebody doesn't embrace it and make it their reality and truth too long.
Oh, right. But
that is the concern.
Yeah.
The concern is like, hey, you can have imposter syndrome. You just have to realize you're not an imposter.
Yeah.
And it needs to be moved through really quick. So I don't know what the issue or concern is, but I see so many people. It's like you don't have that until you start to realize success, and it's like that is not the moment to have it.
Right.
When you should have it is when you haven't done shit yet, and you're like, wait a minute, I'm going to be an imposter. They're going to invite me to the party, and I have no business being there. It's like you're there.
I know, but it's just you do go through this, and now that like people invest in you, and
yeah,
and people,
you're worthy. I'm sorry. When you get to this point, you're worthy.
But you just got to, when you've struggled to get to that point, you got to ask yourself, like, I deserve this, right? You just got to get used to it. You just need the time to a little bit
to work through it. Yeah. As long as we process through it quick enough. What do you think that the impact of this business that you're going to make? Like, what do you think? What do you think the outcome is going to be?
I don't know. Like, it's $1 trillion industry, plastics. So if we get a small percentage of it, and it's a growing industry, it's ever evolving. So if we're not going to be able to do it forever. We have a solution that's really good for right now, but that 20 years from now we might be obsolete. But if I can, right now our company has a really good opportunity to help some brands and manufacturers reduce their plastic to meet some mandates coming up. Like, we're not anti-plastic. I mean, plastic is beneficial to us in a lot of ways.
Sorry.
Right. But no, and also like we live longer because of it. I mean, there are some benefits to it, but it is used irresponsibly. So we agree that with the UN that the best way to do is reduce as much as you can, recycle what you can, and reuse what you can. The 3 R's, it's kind of our mantra. And our solution kind of does that. So we do hope to take a significant bit of plastic out of the plastic economy. And encourage the recycling of anything that made with our product, which you can do. So we hope to have that benefit, and we also hope to then, with that, grow with the sustainability movement wherever that goes. So we have the tech guys on our team, like we have the patent holders, we have the engineers with us in Taiwan that are right on top of the industry. So as the industry develops, we're going to be able to adjust with it. So we just want to establish a company that's here to do what it can to more responsibly live with plastic, not necessarily do away with it, but just live more responsibly with it.
Have you done the old typical SWOT analysis? Like, have you defined like why you'll be successful, but also like maybe why you won't?
Yeah. I mean,
share that?
Well, there's some of the risks. Isn't risk one of them?
Well, so it's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats.
Right.
So you could put it in there somewhere.
Right. So the threats, again, yeah, we've got some threats out there because there's some greenwashing going on.
What's that mean?
Greenwashing, that's when a company will say, hey, we're eco-friendly, but in reality, there's no carbon reduction. Or like some of these drink boxes that say they're eco-friendly, but it's impossible to recycle because you've got to take them apart first. Or some of these bioplastics that they say will just biodegrade and everything's fine, but they only biodegrade or compost under very specific conditions. You have to have the nitrates, the moisture, the oxygen, everything for it to biodegrade. So if it winds up in the landfill, it won't biodegrade. It relies on people doing that in their backyard, and people barely recycle, let alone compost. So that's not going to be a viable solution. There's not a net carbon reduction when you do things like that.
Is it cheaper for them to do it? Is that what you're fighting against? Like they can market that thing,
yeah.
And it seems like if you buy it, you're participating in it as a business.
Well, yeah, and then you're tying into that. You're taking advantage of, like, consumers want to be, the majority of consumers want to protect the environment. So when they see, oh, this is greener than the other, and it's not, this is greenwashing. That's what they call it, to make it look like it's environmentally friendly, but it's really not. And then you also have some big lobbies out there. Like it doesn't sound like a big one, but there's a product called calcium carbonate. It comes from limestone, and it's used in plastics a lot as a filler. And they say they have a negative carbon, or it's carbon neutral or negative carbon, and which is just impossible. I mean, it's not only is it unsustainable because it is a mined product. There's a finite amount of it, but it's also needs to be mined and drilled and crushed and transported. And I don't know, it's impossible for them to say that they're negative carbon, but they'll invest, $100 million to make everybody believe it. So that's one of our biggest threats right there is we have a learning curve that we have to catch people up on, because it sounds great. Oh, this biodegrades, that's compostable. Wait, you just reduce plastic? What's the benefit of that? Whereas our product, we might reduce, like if you have a pharmaceutical bottle, we can take 30% of that plastic out of it. And then the rest can be recycled plastic. So we introduce no virgin plastic into this product, and the end result can be recyclable. And then at the very end, even recycled plastic at some point needs to be incinerated or winds up in a landfill. And that's when the carbon gets released. But at that stage, the end of life, that's where we really shine, is we've got 30, 40, 50% where that's going to be taken out of the economy. So we're proud of that approach, that we're taking a huge chunk out of the economy, the plastic economy, And our products are all, we just got certified that products made with us are also recyclable.
That's big.
Yeah. We're good.
What is, all you have to do is talk about eco-friendly things and people just line up to protect their side.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not as clearly defined as the political world wants to make it, because you brought up lobbying.
Yeah.
There's lobbying on all parts of politics, and it's not all great, even on your team and your side, folks. And so this idea of carbon, what's bad about this idea of too much carbon, greenhouse effect and all this, but why is it bad? I don't have an, here's the thing, I'm coming to this of having, it's not on my mind very often. Me operating a real estate company,
right?
We're driving cars, we're going to show people homes. We do most things now paperless, which is awesome, right? But it's on my mind as a real estate company, like, let me make sure we service the client in a significant and excellent way. Let me make sure we bring on people who are a little bit altruistic and care about the customer more than themselves. It just doesn't come into our world too much. So everything I'm focused on, it doesn't come into my life. So everything I see, do we recycle? Yeah. Every single one? No, we're not perfect. But when we make a paperless decision, it's a financial decision. I'm just being honest about this, right? I didn't do it out of like the greater good that I'm helping the rest of the world. So this idea of carbon, because the electric cars, there's impacts down the line about these batteries and stuff, right? About them being made and all this. So give me the argument of a guy that I'm not on a side. Give me an argument about the significance of massively reducing the carbon footprint.
Well, first, since you're a guy, I'll first bring up not about carbon, but about microplastics that they're finding in all parts of our body now and lowering your testosterone. So that's a big thing. So reducing plastic will be beneficial in that respect. And reducing carbon is just for future generations, essentially. I mean, we are, I don't know if you mentioned Joe Rogan. I'm not sure where he is on this at this point, but
I think he's pro. I mean, he's a pro awesome, ecologically like safe and good and great planet. I think he is. I don't think he comes down on political lines. He has people on that legitimately talk about both sides of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think, I just want to be informed, like, because I'm always looking for the truth.
Right.
Like, what is the truth around this, removing all the things? Like, at what point is too much carbon too much carbon?
Well,
I don't know. I'm not a guy that understands the chemistry behind it and all the stuff going into it.
Right. Well, I'm not an expert on that either.
Okay.
Like I explain our material and how we do that, but the certain carbon limits that have been established, like I'm not sure where they're at right now, but I know that when we're over that, it just sets everything.
You were in China. Like, was it real when you go to some of those cities?
Oh yeah. Like seriously, I would wash my face, walk outside, come back a few minutes later, and I could wipe it, and it would just be kind of.
I've heard that. I've just never experienced it.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Right. There's bad smog. I've been to LA and different places, but I've never experienced anything they talk about in some of these. Now, but if we go back to 1900 or 1920s, I'm assuming it was here.
Yeah.
I'm assuming, right, the steel business and coal and all that and stuff.
But it's not just that. It's also just releasing the more carbons. I wish I could talk about this more fluently, but it's more, I mean, there's the benefit to reducing your carbon impact is real. And it's not just the smog and the smoke in the air. It's the end life of it at the end too, though, when it's,
I'm on board with it.
Okay.
I'm just like, what's the idea behind it? Like, what's the truth about it? Makes sense to me. 'Cause I'm like, okay, makes sense to me that recycling this thing we make makes sense to reuse it again instead of just throwing it somewhere and it accumulating and that not being good. This makes sense, but I'm holding it.
Yeah.
We don't daily as humans interact and have this relationship with carbon even the same way I can about the plastic. So,
right. And you can't see it like you can. It's not just black smoke in the air.
It's not.
I mean, it's right. Especially not in our neighborhood. So like I can't.
And we're not chemists.
Right.
The average person walking around, it's like, how does this impact us in our life and our world? That's what's so tough about it.
Or is this all bogus?
I'm just wondering. It's like, what is the truth? Like, I'm on board. If high levels of carbon down the road is going to ruin our world, then let's make it better.
But aren't you kind of seeing it take shape now?
In what way?
I don't know. The ice caps are melting. nature, the weather events are getting more and more.
If I go too much down this path, people would try to define me and put me into places. Here's what I'm just a naysayer around all these things so often. And I think being a skeptic saves me so often from going down these deep paths. Here's what I don't know. I don't know at what point in history the same thing was happening. It probably was. And I'm like, what impact? Remove the humans from the earth previously. There's been temperature. I mean, we were sitting on what used to be an ice cap right here.
Yeah.
There was like 100 miles of ice right here where we are right now. And so there's an argument that actually that's a world you don't want to live in. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't have the intelligence from a chemical or even physics perspective to understand what's too much. I don't know. I don't know what's too much to have a frozen world. And I don't know what's too much to have a world where you have 3 or 4 degrees in ocean rise, and that's going to ruin everything. And so we're just out here listening to the rest of the world, and I'm like, what's the truth? It's hard to find the truth, is all I'm saying. But whatever it is, and it's going to ruin the world and not make it a great place for us, let's make that not happen. So I'm on board for it. I just don't know what is.
All right.
So you can push back on any of it, but I don't take
position.
I don't take positions on any of them because I'm like, everybody's fighting over this shit.
Yeah.
Because talk to someone that believes one thing, they'll tell you it's the truth. Talk to someone that believes the other, they'll tell you it's the truth. It's like, why is that what domain are you protecting here?
Well, that's I think where faith comes into terms. Like you got to pick the people you're like. I don't have the time to become an expert in it, but I am a good judge of character, and I can see, you just got to like not to talk about.
Go ahead.
Religion or faith or anything like that. Like this, to go back into faith and things like that.
Because some of my best friends are Christian people. Yeah. I have a Muslim friend. People that work in my company, they're Jewish. Like, they're good people.
Right.
I can't tell you that's why what they believe, but also I'm not going to say that they're wrong because I don't have the full understanding of what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
It's just in how my brain works. It's like, that ain't my thing.
Like, when I talk to some of my friends that are deeply atheistic and maybe they're an English major or they studied a little bit of business. I don't know, but they're sure that there's no God or nothing else because they were able to think like, oh, religion uses a lot of bullshit. Religion is kind of fake. And it's like, so they figured that out and they figured out the whole thing. And now they don't believe in anything. And they know it's because some physicists don't believe in it. And it's like, but they can't understand the theoretical physics that they're believing in. And so that's just faith right there. That's a new Bible. And it just drives me crazy that there's the arrogance of like reasonably intelligent people thinking they have figured it all out. Mm-hmm. So this goes back, and I'll try to bring it back to the carbon thing. So I do have faith. I do have faith in the scientists that I choose to believe that saying this is leading down the wrong path because I don't see their self-interest there. The people that argue against it, I do see their self-interest. I do see they would be more profitable if we would shut up. They would be richer people if we would shut up. So I question them and I question their motivation. But scientists who do not benefit from this in any respect that are coming out with this, and you can study this and read it, I tend to believe that because they have nothing to gain from it. Whereas the people that try to discredit them do have a lot to gain from it. So I look at motivation when I choose who to believe.
But so to argue the other side, not that I would disagree with that, but to argue the other side, I would say that someone that fundamentally believes in the religion they chose to believe, that they have faith in, if they're not the one that's in a profit position that some religions and churches are, they don't have any gain either by trying to convince me of their thing. They just think it's the right way to believe and live. They think if I don't believe in their thing, I'm going to have a worse outcome in my life. They believe it. I see them. I talk to them every day, and I don't want to push back on that, but they don't have an incentive financially.
Oh, I was talking about carbon.
I know you were.
All right.
I'm just saying in general. I'm talking about the incentive of human beings and why we.
But don't they get validation in their own choices when other people agree with them?
Everyone does.
Well, I know,
and I hate that. I hate that about this world, and that's why I'm always trying to figure out the truth. It's like, is this really the truth of what's happening, or this is just the thing you have faith in now? So I buy into the idea that if the scientific approach and these scientists are correct, but I'm like, what makes them correct? I'm just always trying to be skeptical.
Well, honestly, I wish I'd come more prepared to talk about that. No, because when I was thinking about this podcast and other things, I was ready to talk about a little bit of the chemistry behind how we turn our eggshells into this great material.
So let's
and all this
talk about
other stuff.
eggshells into materials.
Well, no. This other stuff's more interesting. Yeah. So about the whole carbon, and I'm realizing like I never questioned it from beginning this business till now. I never questioned like, is carbon really bad? Like, is carbon reduction really such a necessary thing? And blah, blah. Like, I'm 100% feeling that it is, but I haven't jumped into the science about why it is. And I don't know the specific levels about what's going to happen if not. And
because I do want to know.
Right. No. And this is actually something that somebody in my position should be able to be more fluent about. So, and not just assume everybody's going to just assume that that it should be done. I'm going to have to talk to people about why it should be done.
So here's what's awesome. So I love that. See, I think what's great about this is what's awesome is because you said you're over 50 now.
Yeah.
Like, you're doing great for being over 50. Like, you are
Mm-hmm.
in great shape, perspective, but probably the 30-year-old Andrew wouldn't have been as open-minded. I just know that about this human journey about us.
Yeah.
And that open-mindedness isn't saying that I'm trying to convince you of anything, but you're like, huh, all right. That felt like my truth, but let me go dig into it.
Hmm.
Maybe when you leave, let me do a little research.
I'm going to.
I know.
I'll get back to
That's what's awesome about this. When I challenge people, some of my best friends are Christians.
Hmm.
And when I challenge them on it, what I say is, guys, I shouldn't be threatening. You should be so confident in the thing that you believe, that you have so much faith in, whatever it is, that by me challenging it, it should even strengthen the thing that you believe more.
Yeah.
Know it. Don't let someone come into your life that questions. You should want someone to question it. You should want to do deep dives to be more stern and more understanding about it. Being around me should make you better if I'm going to question the thing. And then maybe you'll go and research it. So why the hell improving this plastic thing is going to make our world better?
Right.
And are you really taking, you called your company Ecoshell.
Yeah.
Are you really taking like eggs
Yeah.
and creating then packaging materials with eggs?
Yeah.
Describe this to me.
Oh, okay.
And how do you
I was ready to go off on this whole tangent about Mormons and because I had to deal talking about a lot of them in Taiwan and relationship to Christians, being a gay man. But we could talk about that.
Yeah, but here's what's funny about Mormons. I just said this yesterday. Man, there's some good business people.
Yeah.
Go to Utah.
Dude, they've got a racket. I hate to say it, but
everyone does. You know who else has rackets?
Who?
Every religion, every political cause. I'm sorry, they just do. But go there.
Except the Buddhists, I think. That's where I'm like, I like those guys.
Yeah.
But the Mormons, they like a friend of mine. He's Taiwanese, and his English is great. And when he was really young, he was kind of thought like, ooh, he's from the south of Taiwan. This is a long time ago, and he thought Mormonism was just amazing. They flew him over to Utah. They were getting him ready to be like the guy they saw an asset in him
to go back,
and then to get more people. And I just don't. And I do see some self-interest with the Mormons. And I get frustrated sometimes. Like when I was over in Taiwan and people would walk up to me, Mormons, and say like, hey man, can I talk to you for a little bit? Sometimes I'm like, all right, guy, you're on your mission. Like, are you doing okay? How's life in Taiwan? They all speak Chinese perfectly fluently. They've got that big, beautiful smile, these eyes that are friendly, but vacant as hell, but friendly. Like they haven't had, I hate to say that. You
slipped in the vacant as hell.
I'm sorry, but it makes me angry that an 18-year-old kid come to me and I've worked on my belief and my spirituality and things like that. And for him to come with the solution, and I don't see much thought behind it. This was just handed down to him. And he actually wants to change not only me, but this culture that is thriving without that sort of religion. It just made me angry sometimes. So I never got angry at the kids, but a lot of times I would just like, at some point, I hope you realize when you're 45 years old, you went to another country based on these ideas and myths that, people told you, and you tried to change fundamentally their society. And it's based, I think their intent is pure because they think that they're helping these people. But when you look at the structure behind it all, that was put them on that journey, and how beautiful their missions, their temples are, and how 10%, as soon as you become Mormon, 10% has to go right back to the church. Just makes me angry. And when you dig deeper, like I remember when I was I don't know why I have this long history with Mormonism, but I was back in Ohio University and Mormons came to our door. And my friend at the time, we said, all right, we'll go through your lessons and stuff, but you have to play Scrabble with us and maybe smoke a little weed. And as it turns out, like one of them stayed a little bit longer than they should.
They did.
Yeah, one did, the other didn't. But I went through all the lessons, and it's like, you get your own planet. You get, me being a white male, I get to be right in that circle, the closest circle of the sun. I didn't tell about the gay thing at the time, so I don't think I'd get there if they knew that. But women necessarily couldn't get as closer to God's glory as the men, and I just thought that was like weird. And so I just questioned the whole thing, and I questioned these pure kids that seem so friendly over there. I don't know if they knew what they were doing. I mean, that's such a violent thing to do, to enter another. They were just these tools of this organization, and they didn't know that. And so I don't know, it's a struggle sometimes to be friendly and to be patient with them.
I have the same struggle to be friendly to people that are idealistically massively political.
Yeah,
I do, because I'm like, the people that you guys are worshiping they're not good people.
Yeah.
Just like a lot of the leaders of these parties, both parties, they're not good people. They're just not. And
I come to terms with that. Like, I think, again, not getting super political, but like everybody hated Hillary, and I don't know why. Like, and I don't think she's a nice person, but
don't make that argument.
No, I'm not saying like she's such a sweetheart, but there are times I think she was misjudged when she turned off the political animal and just had a sit down conversation with somebody. It's like, oh, there's a human.
Then quit being
like, I like her.
Then quit being disingenuous to the world.
Right. But that said, though, like, she had to do a lot as a woman at her time to get where she was at. She had to do some stuff. I'm sure. I'm not believing that they killed all these people, all this conspiracy theories. But I knew that she had to be a bitch sometimes. And I knew that she would continue to do that as president. But she would do that for the things that I supported. So I was like, all right, go girl. Like,
see, that's what I'm saying. Like,
right, they're all evil.
Yeah, I think that
even Jimmy Carter.
I think when you're in those positions, man, you have to make decisions and do things. When you're the president of the most power does bad things. Power corrupts. And when you're in the position of probably leading whatever the most powerful company is, when you're leading the most powerful country, when you're leading the most powerful religion, I think you're in a position where you have to be so ideological about the doctrine of the thing that you're doing. You do bad things. Yeah. And unfortunately, I think these institutions,
you think Trump has done bad things?
Are you kidding me? Come on.
Dude, I'm joking. I think one of the reasons he was so popular is because he didn't have that facade anymore. He wasn't joking like, I'm not a good person. Like, it was just like out there.
Because I think what we are asking for, we want to be a part of something as humans, and then we do want people to be transparent and honest. Like, we want to see the person that's present. We want to believe that that's you, right? Just in general in the world, but we don't want too much honesty, right? We don't want that. But here's what the problem is. This is why this Democrat and Republican thing is always going to be a back and forth in this country. Mm-hmm. Is because the political system and politicians and religious leaders, I'm not going to drop the F-bomb. I almost did. Okay. That both of them are evil. Mm. And the reason why they're evil is that they have sold this idea to us humans that they're going to solve our problems and save us. Mm. And when everybody realizes they're not, it makes us not happy. And then we're like, well, they didn't do it for us, so maybe the other guy will now. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, well, they didn't fix my problems now, so this other guy he's telling me he's going to fix my problems, so now we'll go back to him. Well, that didn't fix my problems, and that's why every 4 or 8 years it switches. It's Republican, then Democrat. Then it's Republican, then it's Democrat. Go back the past 40 or 50 years, and that's how it goes a lot of times. Mm-hmm. Society snaps back, and it's because they're playing this game convincing us that they're going to fix our problems. It's not their job to fix our problems. It's our job to fix our problems.
Right.
It's their job to set up a society that works, that then we need to make the right choices to have the outcomes that we want. And then we realize all of a sudden, like, I'm not happy with my life, and then it's easy to blame other people.
So should we elect spiritual leaders then?
No, I think it's the same thing.
What's your solution?
I think the solution is it's more about helping us believe in ourselves.
That's the role of government?
No, I think that's the rule of everything in this world. Instead of saying, believe in us, we'll solve your problems, because it's not going to happen.
I know, man, we've got 330 million people in this country. You got to
organize. No, but there's billions. I'm not just saying
talking
just
about
the
this
US.
country.
Yeah.
I understand. But
same thing happens in Europe. I mean, they can't get shit done there because there's 8 or 10 parties.
Right.
They're always, what could just happen in France? They're not going to get shit done. And so, the response is, believe in yourself and get up every day and believe in self-empowerment and the opportunity that you have to go out and impact the world. And by you starting a business, you can have more of a positive impact in your life and the others that you're going to do this thing for. The government isn't doing that.
Okay, let me ask you this. You say that, like, when have you ever looked at the government to solve your problems? When have you?
I personally
to
don't.
Make you happy. Exactly.
But a lot of people do.
Exactly. But you just made the difference right there. Then you've started this amazing business here. You're doing great, and you didn't look for your self-worth or validity through the government, through that. Like, but it's there for people who need that. They need a belief system. They need the structure. I'm not saying that they're worse or lesser or this or that, but it's just you have a group of people that need that. I mean, you didn't do it. And my growth, the growth I've been most proud of, is when I didn't look through the mainstream. I didn't look through the structures to find my way, is when I checked out of that.
The thing that they've done wrong is they've said, believe in us. That's wrong. What they should say is believe in yourself. That's what I think the fundamental problem is. It's not saying we're not here to help each other and we're not going to, like, try to create a society or try to create a situation or, to try to make it a little bit easier for you. Yeah. But you're actually the one that still has to do it. You got to make decisions to educate yourself. You have to make decisions when you're in a moment of what's going on in my life that you move to the other side of the world. Like, if you're really honest and you look back, you're here in this spot today because of the actions that you took and decisions you made. Not saying you didn't come across some nice people, but you also came across some evil people. You came across people that helped you, and then you also came across people that did bad things to you. But the significant, when I look at people when they're arriving at a place where it's like, oh, life's working now, it's because of decisions you made. It's because of intentional action that you took. That's what it is. It's not some system saying, hey, listen, I got your back. Hey, I'm going to take care of you. They're tricking us, man. It's just, and so this is my opinion, but it's how I live now. It's the reason why I grew up religious and I was taught those things, and I started thinking for myself, and I'm like, no, you're not going to convince me that we're right and everyone else is wrong. That this little sect of Christianity, that we're right and we're the ones going to heaven and hell, but everyone else is not. Doesn't feel right to me. And then also, I'm sure I grew up poor financially. I'm assuming we were probably Democrats. I'm assuming. Just kind of because you think somebody's fighting for you out there, right? I remember the conversation in my home where kind of like against the man. And this idea that unions and government and all this stuff, it wasn't shared with me that was the case, but it kind of felt that way. And then I got to this place where I was in my early 20s, and I'm like, it's on me. So I probably leaned more to like a more conservative perspective. Not conservative in the social issues, but conservative physically, like this is on me. I want to raise, I have to do better. I want to earn a promotion, I have to work harder. And so then I went more back, and then I got to this place, I'm like, none of them are right. They're not right. I don't think liberals are right. I don't think conservatives are right. I don't think Jewish people are right. I don't think Christians are right. I don't think Muslims are right. I don't think any of them have control of the truth and right in every aspect of life. But they try to convince us that they are.
I think in some respects you need that, though. Like when you look at social inequality, I think there's two very different takes on that. And I think you do need to fight for the stronger voice and which way to go. And I'm more toward... I don't want to.
This is good. No, we can't. No, this is good.
But like when it comes to social inequality, like I'm more towards like you got to start with a level playing field, and beyond that, it's a meritocracy. I say the word
meritocracy.
So I've been gone for a while. My English
right.
skills.
It's good. We'll let you off the hook on that. Right? It's a tough word.
It's not that. It's a meritocracy. So
level playing field. What's that? Right. What's that mean?
Everybody has equal education, access to healthy food, healthcare. Beyond that. Do you? I mean, and I think that's not the case right now. And I think there's some schools that are suffering, and we don't have equal access to especially healthcare. Like I don't get why we don't have good healthcare in this country. It still drives me crazy. Like, and I get the take like, oh, I work hard for my money. Shouldn't have to pay for you to go to the doctor. You can take advantage of the system and fuck off. It's just, oh, I'm sorry, the F-bomb.
No, it's good. You invoked it, so it's over now.
All right.
We're going somewhere, right?
No, but it just makes me angry. It's just like, how can you be so short-sighted in terms of like where I lived in Taiwan again, we had a great healthcare system. And it was like some people overused it, but they liked that. It's like, oh yeah, some people take, but as long as everybody is healthy, then they could find their benefits in other ways.
What do you think keeps us from that? So just you hit on something for me that really pisses me off, and it's something we're going to agree on, even if we come from different places on it. Because I am like an accountability guy. I'm probably more rigid on that than you are, right? You probably have more empathy like in your soul than I do. You probably do, because I want people to have great lives, but at the same time I want to help them hold themselves accountable for disciplined activity. I don't want to do it to them, so I lean a little bit more the other way. That. But I am pissed off about this healthcare thing, and here's why: is that this real estate company I've built. Talk to a lot of people. They're happy that they came and did this thing with us. Talk to Lee, the person we have in common. His life is better because he met a guy like me. His life is better because he met this company. He's put the work in, but we did something different than the other companies didn't do for him. But I can't give him insurance because he's an independent contractor. So the state of Kentucky, healthcare is like state-based. It's not a federal thing. There's still state rules everywhere. But if you go to any of the 50 states, so we have almost 200 realtors, independent contractors. There's a reason why they're independent contractors. This isn't a 40-hour week job. You can't do it. We're weekends, we're nights. You take phone calls. How do you clock in and out for that? The thing that sucks is I have 200 people. So I can't have a group plan that they can participate in. If you're an independent contractor, They are not allowed to be on anybody who's an employee. So the company has employees. Those 8 or 9 or 10 people that are employees, they can be a part of a group plan.
But somebody like Lee, he has to get his own.
Correct.
Okay.
I legally am not allowed. The insurance companies are not allowed, whatever it is. And here's what's funny. Whether it's a Republican governor or Democratic governor, we've had both. They don't change it. We've had Democrat and Republican Congress and Senate in the state. They don't change it.
Who benefits from this?
Who benefits? Who benefits? It's got to be the insurance companies. It's got to be the medical companies. It has to be all of them. That what makes no sense to me is like, why? It doesn't make any sense. Like, what I'd say is, I want to pay my fair share that every other employer, I will pay that. Mm-hmm. Whatever P&G pays, whatever Kroger pays for their employees to work in their grocery stores, I would contribute the same. I'm legally not allowed to do it. What the fuck? Mm. It's stupid.
Yeah.
And so that's the issue with government and religion and all this stuff too. Logic doesn't usually enter into a lot of these big discussions. And the education piece, I don't do many nonprofit things. Yeah. But I sit on a nonprofit that is really concerned about education in specifically Northern Kentucky, and then identifying the stuff happening in the river cities. Mm. So I did deep dives into being on this nonprofit. I'm trying to figure this the F out. Yeah. Because it's not just about money. It's not. Because the schools that are struggling the most, they get more money per student. And I don't know why everybody keeps being dishonest about this. Newport, Kentucky. Yeah. One of the worst performing districts in the entire state, if not the worst, gets more money per student from taxes than any other district in the whole area.
Really?
It's proof. And
what's causing it then?
Boy, it's a societal conversation, man.
All right.
It's what it is. And I asked tough questions, and I wasn't a very popular guy in the room for asking the tough questions because I wanted to say, okay, then why?
Right.
So for the record, in Newport, it's some of the highest property taxes as well. That's where the money comes from. So there's more money funded per kid in that school district than Fort Thomas, than Beechwood, than the public schools in Boone County and Kenton County that the kids are performing better. It's fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
And here's the reality of the situation. There's been Democratic mayors and there's been Republican mayors. There's people that sit on school boards and council. A lot of those people now, if they register, look at their registration. They're Democrats. So why are we having an issue in society talking about these hard, tough problems? No one wants to ask the questions. You ask the questions, you get shouted down. Yeah, I'm registered independent. I think they all suck. I really do. Because I'm like, there's no one asking these tough questions. And so what I want to know is like, if carbon's bad, all right, let's fucking change it. I did when you invoked it. If plastics are bad, create a company to do this stuff the right way. I think it does take us making some decisions like this. So that's why it's a lot of times I just go into this podcast is fun and we talk about who someone is and talk about their business. But I'm going to these places like I'm just going to go in my cave because everybody's just accepting the status quo, man. And the status quo for kids in a lot of these urban environments when it comes to education, it's not a good outcome. It's not. And for me, there's 20-something thousand realtors in the state of Kentucky. There's a lot of awesome people, man. You go through my company, there are quality people in this company that every day are getting up. Yeah, we're making money, we're making commissions, but we really have a passion for helping people like own a home and this idea of home ownership and gaining equity. And because when you own something, you have more buy-in to that thing, and there's something empowering about doing that than paying rent to someone. I don't care but that's reality. And so we're good people. But the person that's packing groceries at Kroger gets to be a part of an insurance policy, but my realtor doesn't? Mm-hmm. So this isn't just about equal access. I'm telling you that there's people working in my company that are making 6 figures that don't have access to that thing. Mm. That's fucked up.
Right. But in terms of just basic survival, in terms of just basic life, I think that there's no safety net for a lot of people here. And in terms of finances and in terms of healthcare, like it's terrifying right now if you get sick in America. America's the worst place in the world to get sick. We have some of the greatest doctors in the world, but only if you have excellent insurance or...
Is that true, though?
Yeah.
So for me, I have to have an independent policy.
So do I.
With a huge deductible.
Yeah, so do I. Well, just
Yep.
but different sake. I was at the gym back in Taiwan and I threw my back out really, really bad. I went to the hospital, got all the MRI, the X-ray, the therapy, the drugs, follow-up therapy, and I spent about $50 total. And then I have some extra insurance on top of that in case something really bad happens, I get cancer or something like that. But it's really inexpensive, like $150 a month.
So how do you think we'd fix this?
I don't know. And I think it's more, like I said, it's easier, and I hate to say this, but it's easier in Taiwan because it's much more homogenous. It's 99% Asian folks, maybe 98, and with the Aboriginals there. And I think it's easier from our human nature when everybody
looks the same.
Yeah, I think it's easier that way. And I think in America we have a unique situation where we don't all look the same, and it's hard. And we do get tribalized. We think like, well, my people are doing all right, so we're good. And I think it's hard to expand that to people that don't look like you. And I think that's part of human nature.
But
and I don't know how to get over it.
But we spend a massive amount of money on these systems that don't work.
Yeah,
in healthcare. Look at the percentage of taxes in our federal government that goes towards healthcare. It's significant, man. The amount of money that's spent on Medicare and Medicaid for it's insane.
Well, all that's due to the ridiculous costs in hospitals. I mean, that's not. You shouldn't attack that. Doing that, you should attack the costs. And the only reason it's so astronomical is what's getting. That's why everybody goes to Canada to get their drugs. They fly. It's cheaper now to fly to like Thailand to get an operation, pay out of pocket, than it is to do it with insurance here in the States.
Are these things too big to try to fix?
I don't know. I mean, I came here to talk about eggshells. I didn't know I'd fix the healthcare industry. And I have such an ignorant view of it. Like, I'm not, again, I don't have the vocabulary
Mine
or the
is
fluency
too, though,
to talk
right?
about it. Right?
But I think what happens is, I think more people are like us than not. That's the issue. Like, I'm running a real estate company, making impacts in people's lives. You're doing this because you have passion around making an impact, and you're going out and do it. And there's we're normal. We're average out here we're ordinary people trying to do extraordinary things. And it's like, what about these other ideas that we consistently agree, no matter where we come from politically, no matter where we come from religiously? It's like, why can't this be dealt with and figured the F out? It makes no sense because we're operating our businesses, but you still passionately care about equal access to things.
Right.
I think everyone does, man. See, I think there is a shared correlation. In all of these places, 70, 80% of society, wherever you come from, they care about these things we're talking about.
Here's the thing. Like, I grew up, I don't want to get too political with this, but I grew up, my dad worked for Procter & Gamble. I was spoiled P&G brat, lived out in Anderson Township, never questioned anything. Dad paid for college out of pocket. We grew up very comfortable. My brother's always upset because my dad didn't get the job at P&G until after I was born. So he remembers
your life was better.
Yeah, he remembers when we were a little bit poor. But that said, went to college way too early. Had no idea. Just living in Anderson Township, closeted gay kid. I had no idea what I wanted to be or do. But went to college because that's what you're supposed to do. Went up to Ohio State, saw this massive humanity, and just got lost. And I was like, wow, I want to learn about everybody. I want to just get lost. I want to learn about myself. And so then led down kind of a bad path. I got in a lot of trouble. Then I transferred over to Ohio University and got in a lot of trouble. I had one DUI. A week later, I got another one. They found some other stuff in the car. And my friends and I were opening up a head shop at the time. So we had all this paraphernalia in the car. And it was ridiculous and I ended up getting in trouble. And I spent like 2 or 3 days in jail. And ask any African-American if that had happened to them, a second DUI with some pretty hard drugs in the car, how long they would have been in jail. It would have been much different. And I bring this up because I want everybody to have the opportunities that I had. And I had the opportunity to mess my life up because I grew up in suburbia and I needed to tear that down to get my own perspective of the world. And I'm glad I did that. I'm glad I hit rock bottom and built my way back up. But what I got was a second chance. And not everybody in our society has that second chance. So I remember I was sitting there in the courtroom, and when I was like given my freedom to go off and finish school, my dad was there, our lawyer was there, and the judge was there. And he was like, "Is he ready?" My dad said, "Oh yeah, he's ready now." Everybody did this white man nod to each other, and I was on my way. I got my second chance. And from then, I didn't look back, and I made healthy choices, and I did better. But I needed to hit that rock bottom before I got to that point. And I get angry that that's not the truth for everybody, that people do fuck up and they do hit rock bottom, and then they're institutionalized for the rest of their life because of it. And that's not fair. And when people talk about privilege, talk about white privilege, and it gets me so angry that people don't even believe that it exists. And it's like, living proof it does. And I'm not going to give it away. I just want, I don't think people should be afraid of. You don't have to give away the privilege. You just have to make sure everybody has the privilege, and then it's just a fair society in that respect.
So let me say this:
Yeah.
Isn't privilege an aspect of just privilege regardless of the color of your skin?
Yeah.
Because there's privilege. Privilege usually comes with someone in the past in our families doing well.
Right. I don't know though, because there's still, even in Taiwan, I felt the white privilege. Like there's just, it was things are easier for you over there. In terms of, like, I knew somebody who was a PhD candidate, already had a PhD. He was an African-American guy from St. Louis, I think he was. And he was over there as well. He didn't get jobs at little bushy bonds where like extra cram schools because of the color of his skin. And the owners would say like, oh no, you're too dark. That's why we won't get as many students that way or something like that. And I would walk down the street and have people say, oh, could you please come teach at our school? I'm like, I'm not a teacher at that point. So there is white privilege over there. And I don't know what it is about that. Like, Louis, what's the character? Louis C.K.?
Yeah.
He had this funny bit about,
he got in big trouble, but he's on the comeback.
Right. But he had a funny stuff on this too. It's like, it's great. Like next life, of course I'd choose why I get to go around the world. And it's like, I'm instantly appreciated. And I don't know where that comes from because I think it's just, I do know where it comes from. It comes from our colonial past. And like, it's, how we presented ourselves with royalty, this or that. And I don't know, but it's just bizarre. It's a bizarre thing to be.
We don't think, can the conversation be had to acknowledge that? But at the same time, this is where I come from.
Yeah.
Imagine living in a country where everyone looked exactly the same.
Are we good looking?
No, you're going to look. See, this is actually the point.
All right.
Where everyone looks the same based on the color of your skin. There's going to be privilege in the society, man. Based upon, are you attractive? Are you not? Are you taller? Are you not? Is your family wealthy? Are you?
Oh,
not?
You mean all the same skin color? I thought you were saying like we all looked exactly the
same skin color.
Okay, but we still have variation amongst us, right?
Yeah, but remove the skin color thing. Remove
Okay.
if we're black and white or Asian or brown skin. Remove that.
Mm.
Everyone's skin color is the same. There's going to be privilege that's defined within that society, man. I'm not accepting it and saying it's okay. I think we just happen to pick this thing that, yeah, there's truths about it, right? But go into a country where everyone looks the same and there wasn't any deviation between anyone coming from it. There's going to be hierarchies, man. I don't know what it is about this human existence. It's just the truth. This place that we go, I think that socialism and communism tried to achieve and counter the thing you're talking about.
Mm.
They ended up not being good societies. They did.
Well, they weren't true communisms either. I mean, even Marx said the people have to elect, they have to go through the unnecessary step of democracy to get there. And in the past, it's just been forced on people. So I don't think even then, it just theoretically wasn't true.
Then you give great power to other humans, and then they screw it up.
Yeah.
I don't know, the people in charge. That's the issue.
I still think the best political system is a benevolent dictator. Because democracy is just getting dumbed down to this point. I mean, look who we have right now.
But what happens to the benevolent dictator when they die? You've got to rely on having another one.
Right.
And that's the issue.
Right.
Right? Because you can go in the past and find, like, talk about Marcus Aurelius. It seems like from the readings, like read Meditations, listen to the book Meditations, and it appears that guy, it was like, wow, that seems like an awesome human. Seems like it. But when he dies, look who comes after. It's this cycle of what the hard times create good men. Good men.
Can I bring up something?
Yeah.
I want to double back on something. It was going over my head a little bit. Like, do you think the white privilege is, when we talked about white privilege in the past, it's just totally arbitrary? We picked skin color. Is that the thing that, don't you think part of it is what was institutionalized, what was built into the fabric of the nation in terms of at the very beginning about what we were formed? Like, don't you think some of that is still residual in terms, and that's where it comes from?
I think we're the things that we've been taught, man.
Well, and I think, like when I talk about my privilege too, I just meant the infrastructure I grew up in was made for me and gave me my breaks.
Think about someone. So I'm not, and I always try to have these conversations from a standpoint of like, I'm really not trying to judge or my opinions affect it.
You explore it.
To go deep. And so here's what's fascinating though. Take someone from this country that was born here that has darker skin than me.
Yeah.
They have a lot more privilege than a lot of people with that same colored skin in other countries. I just think that there's
they should only compare their lives to people in poorer countries?
No, I don't know. So, but at the same time, though, think about me. And even though I grew up in Boone County and financially was poor and different than your life, think about someone that was born in the hills of Eastern Kentucky, even compared to me.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I know that's the truth. I mean, life is a struggle. I don't care what color you are. And people that born with privilege is like, finding happiness is difficult for everybody. Even with, like, I'm not saying we were like,
even really wealthy people, man. There's some of the biggest struggles.
I didn't grow up super wealthy. We were just like middle class,
comfortable as hell.
Right. But in that respect, just being happy, the boozy Karen who yells people on the street, she has a hard time being happy with all of her privilege. She's not a happy person. Suburban, sorry.
Yeah, you're good.
Any sort of suburban. So it's, and I hope everybody understands that too. Like, even when you're born in privilege, waking up in the day, being happy with yourself is a struggle. And making your way in the world is just a struggle. And then when people tell you, it's like, oh, but you've had privilege, it's like, it negates that struggle and it makes you think that you're being devalued as a human. And I get that. And I get it, but their struggle is as real as anybody else's.
What's privilege mean? Does it mean it's just easier?
That's how I take it.
That's what I'm like, what does it mean? Because I'm like, but your life still wasn't easy.
Right. Well, I had the gay thing, but I could, I didn't, it's a lot easier to,
I think life's full of struggle, man.
Yeah. No, I totally agree though. And I don't think you need to, even people that are born in the more privileged class or race, I don't think their struggle is any less than people born outside of it.
I'm fortunate because I grew up the way I did.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff's mindset, man. Like, I know, and I reflect back, the grind and the grit and the determination I have, that came from how I was raised, and that I want more. And then because also my mom ends up being a great human that she pours into me, and I would just learn these things about, like, growing up religiously, like, it did teach me some good stuff.
Mm.
The institution is just screwed up. It taught me how to treat people. It was good. Like, I'm not a guy that's sitting here like, books, the Bible, and all, but it's just like, I did learn, whether people adhered to it or not, and they were hypocritical, they did talk about, like, how you should treat people. Like, the golden rule was a thing.
Mm.
And so it was good culturally that was a good experience. And then my mom, I just looked at her example, and it's like, wow, there's tenacity, there's hard work and all that. But we didn't have much money. But that created something in me that gave me an opportunity to come out in the world and to, like, want it more.
Yeah.
And so if someone would have convinced and talked to me that, like, I was disadvantaged because of it, man, there's a chance that mentality could have helped me back.
Yeah.
It could have made me believe, like, well, the guy over there, he has it better, and it's easier for him. Well, how about not focus on it? Like, there's an argument that you growing up in Anderson, your dad working at P&G, there's an argument, the way that you're framing it, that you were more privileged. Fuck that. I don't care. So what? It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant, because here's what I believe about this world. I still had the same opportunity you had, man.
But circle back way back to what I said about before. I still think, though, that you got to level the playing field at some basic level in terms of access to education, healthcare, this or that. And after that, it's a meritocracy. I get your point, and I get that.
Yeah.
But when people are still struggling to actually survive and based primarily on the color of their skin, I think that needs to be addressed, and it should be addressed. And I don't think it's...
You think that's a truth, based primarily on their color of their skin?
Yeah, I still think so.
Here's what I think: it's less now than it's ever been. I could be wrong, but I believe it because I see it, because I look at my company.
Right.
And this is me putting myself out there. Here's what we don't have. I don't care about these new acronyms and stuff. Here's like, I don't have a DEI policy.
Right.
But if you look at my company, holy shit, we're diverse.
That's awesome.
But here's the thing, but it wasn't written down. It wasn't a policy. All as it was is like, we care about people, and anybody that raises their hand that wants to come do this with us, let's fucking go.
Right.
We're treating everyone exactly the same. And so
and maybe I'm just, and I respect that about you as you as a person.
I'm not saying everyone's this way.
Right.
But I think there's way more.
That's great. I've been gone for 20 years.
I don't think I'm special.
Right.
I don't, man. I just don't think I am. What unfortunately we do is we pay attention to 5% of the assholes that are the loudest doing a bunch of bad shit, and we're saying that's the rest of the world. I don't see that as the truth. I don't, man.
I don't know. But I look at the prison system and things like that. Like I remember when I was young growing up in the suburbs, we did things in our parents' basements that,
I did too.
Illegal substances. And if we were patrolled and policed as much as the inner city is, the jails would be a much different color.
Yeah.
And that's not fair. That's not right. And that's what
so how do we
think
solve
is still
for that
happening
then?
today.
So the question I would be, how do we solve for that?
Maybe I do think it's part of this has to be a question that white folks have to have with each other. And it's not like to fix things, to solve things, but to clean up our own house and to make sure to call out racism when we see it, when it's blatant. Don't like say, oh, that's just our funny uncle, or those, oh, grandma, you have a funny name for those nuts. I mean, you got to stop that. You got to call it out. And that's what we have to do inside of our own house. And you got to struggle. Then you got to advocate to make sure things are a level playing field. That's what. I don't know. I don't know. I sell eggshells.
Yeah, but all I'm doing is selling real estate. That's what I'm saying. I think we're normal.
But and we're two white guys talking about it too, though, and it's a conversation that we should have about it.
100% it is
amongst ourselves, because we need to deal with our own experience with it, like our own relationship to racism and how we deal with it. Because I'm sure we both know racists.
I bet if we're looking for it, we'll go find it. No doubt. I bet we can find it really quick.
But I love the optimism that you think it's shifting in the other direction.
Here's why I think so, and let's talk a little bit more about the shells and stuff.
Can I say the one thing that I did notice that made me really almost cry? Like I was at an FC Cincinnati game, and it was during for Juneteenth. It was their Juneteenth game, and the first song was the Black National Anthem. And I thought, like, because living abroad, what I believe on Twitter or whatever else, it was, I'm sorry, X Elon. Yeah. But I thought I was going to come back into race wars all over again. They made it seem so bad and scary. But, you know, I hadn't heard the song live before. It's a gorgeous song. Everybody stood, was respectful. A lot of white people even knew the words to it and were singing. And it was just like, this is amazing. Like I didn't expect it. So I think I like to think what you said is true. It is trending in the right direction.
I think we find the things we're looking for, and good and bad in life. And so here's what happened. You know, we go back to COVID. COVID was a wild time because, you know, there were some riots, and then, you know, we just know the guy's name's George Floyd, but there's a lot of other humans that have been treated the same way. We just know his name. And so, and then some things rose up in society, and it got very uncomfortable for a minute. But so I sat down and talked to 2 or 3 of our, and here's what's weird. I don't even know what the right term is. Not have an issue. Like sometimes I'll ask people, like, is it African American? Is it black? Like, how are you defined? I think this whole thing's stupid because I'm like, you're a human. But since we're trying to identify us differently because of the color of our skin, let's go there. But
I think once you've been victimized because of the color of your skin, you have the agency to tell people how you should be referred to.
I just want them to overcome it regardless.
Right.
We just put out and we just put out an Instagram reel. My team did. I carry around lavalier mics, and they catch me saying all types of wild shit all the time. But they put out this thing that there was 20 or 30 people I was in front of, and I said, this isn't a battle about 3 things. This isn't a battle. When I wrapped it up, this isn't a battle about what anyone's done to you. It's a battle how you think about it. It's not, because if you're always battling what people are going to do for you, get lined up, man, because there's a lot of people treating us bad every day if you're looking for it. Sometimes it's color of our skin. Sometimes it's if we're gay or straight. Sometimes it's all these things. And what I know is you can't live a great life if you're living in that moment. You can call it victimhood. We can call whatever. I'm not trying to use the words that fire people off, but that's real. Mm-hmm. So I sat down when all that was going on, and I asked 2 of our female, black, or African-American ladies, and I said, hey, what? I don't care. I would talk about any of this stuff. And I pulled them aside. I was like, hey, how you feel? And I could tell them they weren't used to having that conversation. Mm-hmm. And I said, what's it like to be black right now? And one of them said, you don't want to hear it. I was like, well, if I didn't want to hear it, I wouldn't ask you.
Right.
And they said some things, and I'm like, wow, that's, you know, one person went to the other way. I'm like, you probably shouldn't feel that way about it. Like there were some things that weren't good about it just wasn't healthy about some things that needed to happen to some people. And I'm like, that's actually a part of the thing that you're not happy about that's going on. Mm-hmm. And then I said, you want to sit down and talk about it and do a podcast? And they were really uncomfortable about that idea. And to the idea, one of them was like, I don't know if that would be popular within my culture or society right now. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Mm-hmm. Right. So, but the point is like, talk about it all. If you're not willing to talk about these things and what's happening in society, none of this shit's going to get fixed. Because here's also what happens. You have the feeling that you have, but then I hear these weird things. Like I don't know if Morgan Freeman's right or not. I don't know. But you would probably say he's wrong.
What do you say?
He's been interviewed on CNN and said, hey, how do we stop racism? We could pull it up right, and he's like, stop talking about it. See, I don't know what to do with that.
But I also think one of the things that America does badly is account for its.
I want to own let's own our shit.
It doesn't, and we don't have those conversations. And I love the fact that you want to have conversations about it. I think other countries own their shit much better than we do.
Is that true? You think?
I think so. I mean, Germany, they have a national day, I think, to remember what happened there, and we have some good media and some movies that come out. But like that's why I love that Juneteenth became a holiday. Like we need more representation and acknowledgement of what happened in the past. And I think a lot of people that look like us try to say like, well, I didn't do anything. My parents didn't do anything. I'm clean. And so why should I be accountable for this or anything? And I'm reminded of when I grew up, we had this Life book of photographs in our house, and I flipped through it, and I was always haunted by this one picture. It looked like people that looked just like my grandma. It was a black and white picture, laughing, there's a bunch of white folks having fun, and just behind them, you saw legs hanging from the tree. I still remember this image so vividly, and I remember how close I was to that. Like that, this is like a generation away, 2 generations away. That's how close we are to such evil and to such hatred that is just right under the surface, that it does us a disservice to ignore it, that it's not like right there. So I agree with a lot of what you're saying in terms of just like, don't pay attention to it, don't do this, but you also need to remember that it's right there and be vigilant to make sure it doesn't get out of control. And that's when I say we clean up our house, that's what I'm talking about.
Here's what's awesome. Want to know: people can change.
Yeah, I agree. But this is short history. This is a generation ago, or 2 generations where this was happening.
Yeah,
so.
I agree. What I could sit and talk to a guy like you forever, man.
Dude, seriously, I haven't even talked about my damn business yet.
We have dribbled it in.
I didn't mention that it's Eggshell.
Every time I want to talk about it, you don't want to like promote yourself and talk about the thing.
I'm ready now.
Seriously,
we covered a lot of stuff today.
Yeah, a lot of stuff. But I think, see, this is life. These are the things every day happening in our minds and our brains and the interaction. And it's just a problem that we have walls around all this stuff. It's an issue to me. So you're going to change the world.
So we have this chicken in our office.
There you go. It's a chicken or an egg thing. Let's talk about it.
The chicken's busy. So essentially what my company, the technology that my company represents it comes from eggshells. We collect them from food companies and from egg companies where other people take the proteins and we take the shells. That on their own would be an agricultural waste product, because in mass, that amount of calcium is really bad for what ground it's in. So like 1 or 2 is good for a rose garden, but the massive eggshells that are out there as waste products are bad. So we can take those, and our patent process, actually there's a 7-step process from grinding to making them into a powder to calcining them at such a really high degree. The end result is, like I mentioned earlier, calcium carbonate. We have a biocalcium carbonate. So the particles are actually much more porous, so there's more surface area to bond with plastic polymers. So whereas a calcium carbonate from limestone could replace 5-10% of plastic and still make a decent product, like, in bags that make them open easier, they put calcium carbonate in there so it's not so sticky, so it makes it easier to open. But ours, because it bonds so much better with the plastic polymers, can replace up to like 30% in a rigid plastic, up to 50% in flexible plastic. So it's just this huge breakthrough in terms of being able to take more plastic out. And like I said before, we just got a recyclability certificate as well. So we're just really thrilled that we have this technology and this idea that we can bring as a solution for, like, there's this new plastic reduction mandate in California, the SB 54. Was he here? I'm sorry, I just saw the Joe Burrow. Sorry, I'll talk about it later. I want to talk about everything but
here's the thing, we're 12:13. Here's what's awesome.
Oh, is it serious?
Yeah, we've been there for 2 hours. So here's what you get. You get like 8 minutes to talk about your product.
Oh, I had no idea.
And I have to run to another room after that and get on some.
I had no idea.
I wrote a chapter in a book.
I thought there's like a half an hour.
There's 19 people that are going to be on a webinar, and they want me to be one of 5 people that are going to talk about this little chapter I wrote in this book. So I get to do that at 12:30. Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, so we got SB 54, plastic reduction mandate, that says in California, if you want to have anything plastic there, you need to reduce your plastic by 25% by 2032. Now, brands and manufacturers don't know how to do that. You can either develop a new product with a bioplastic to meet those mandates, but that's going to double your cost, double or even sometimes triple your cost, like bio-PE, bio-PP, and things like that. Polyethylene, polypropylene is going to up to more than double your cost. Even PLA, like plastic from corn, which isn't that great of a product. It has a really short shelf life, can't sit in the sun, and it's just not great long-term product. That's going to be like 75% your cost. It's going to, no, 170, almost double. And so it's just, or you have to completely redo your entire packaging line, or upgrade your machines just to reach this mandate. Or you can simply use 25% of our resin in with what you're already using, create a product that can be recycled, meet all these mandates, and still have an excellent product. So it's just that when I say we got the perfect product at the perfect time, that's what I'm talking about.
You do. So it's a resin that you're creating and selling to manufacturers.
Yes. So we take the eggshells, we grind them, turn them into powder, we calcinate them at really high degree, then we pelletize them. And we do 2 things. We have these resins that then we can sell to manufacturers just to mix in with the plastic that they're using, or we also have complete compounds. Like with with polypropylene. It has much higher melt point, so we can't really do the resin on its own. We have to do complete compounds. So, but that's a plug and play. So depending on what you do, you can just like use ours and so what you're doing for that jar or that automobile part that you're making, you can just replace yours with ours and take like a 70% cut out of your carbon, which I swear to God is good. I can't explain exactly.
For the next podcast with an expert, you're going to find out why.
I know too much carbon in the atmosphere is damaging. It's what's heating us up. And I know you think
no, I don't. I'm just going to believe you. I just want everybody, when we're going to say stuff,
all right,
just tell me why it's true.
Okay. Well, I didn't think I'd have to do that. Oh God, now I'm getting tongue-tied. I'm trying to like wrap.
No,
I've got mounds of material on my business. And
so here's what's awesome is that the product that you guys are making, it's going to allow manufacturers to reduce, at the end of the day, their carbon impact on the planet.
And reduce plastic out of the microplastics are a really big problem.
So let's agree together that that's an awesome thing.
Yeah. All right. Sure.
We are.
And so my company, we have specific resins that are ideal for different types of like LDPE, low density polyethylene, or the high density ABS, PS, PC. I'm trying to remember, and polypropylene. We have just specific carbon compounds for. And you know what else? Because it's a bioform of the calcium carbonate, it also has some calcium oxide, which makes it antibacterial. So if companies want to make, for example, a yoga mat that has 40% less plastic and is antibacterial, they can use our material to do that. So we actually have an antibacterial component to it. The antibacterial part's more expensive because it's more high concentrated of what we do, but it's still cheaper than what a polyethylene would be.
What have you learned most about yourself through this entrepreneurial journey?
This is all I get?
This is one of the big questions. No, you can get more, because here's the thing, because what we're going to do is we're going to tag all your social media, because you're sitting here talking about this shit, and I'm like, this chemically is above my damn head. Right. I understand some of the words and terms. That's why I wanted to break it down to the average minded people like me. Like, hey, listen, if you own a manufacturing business and you now have these mandates, which are coming more and more, and it's better for society, like, look up your company, buy some of your shit. It's going to make your product better, and it's going to make me down the road as an average human, my life better. Yeah. And future generations. That's good representation. I'm hired as a sales guy. I get a big commission.
Okay, there you go. Mark. There you go. What percent you want? Now, but the other thing.
Let's look at margin.
But the other thing we do, that we don't just sell the. I got to be promotional guy for a little bit. We don't just. We have a few different revenue streams. We've got the so we sell the resins and the compounds to manufacturers and to brands that already have their own manufacturing. The more vertical guys that they do it all in house. Great. But there are some. We're working on a product right now with a startup out of the UK to do some disposable inserts for antiperspirant deodorant. So we designed it for them in Taiwan. So we have complete OEM services too. I have a whole network of factories that I partner with design and molding services, so we can create products for people as well who want to bring a new product to market and want to do it in an eco-friendly way. We have the entire manufacturing base set for them over in Asia that we can also do over here. On top of that, my company is researching right now what products we want to do in our own branded way of our own eco-friendly products. So we're looking at what we want to do and what we can do, but we want to set that up here in Northern Kentucky. Right now, what's really exciting, we're talking to one of the larger companies that takes plastic out of the ocean, and an ocean-bound plastic that's on its way there, and they collect that and they pelletize it and then reuse it as well. We are working with them now. We're testing it right now in Taiwan to make new bubble wrap and garment bags and plastic bags that's going to be plastic from the ocean and our eggshell biocalcium for the lowest carbon plastic bag on the market. And we're really excited about that because that's something that we can bring that's going to make a huge difference. I bought something from, I forget which online store, I think it was Banana Republic, but I got it in the mail and it said, like, aren't you, in addition to this dopamine rush you got from buying something finding something, you also should be happy that the bag you're holding is 25% recycled plastic. I'm thinking 25% recycled plastic. We're going to be like 60% recycled plastic and 40% eggshell. So, and the story that we could tell is just really, really exciting. So I didn't mean to downplay. Like, I love conversations, and you're a really interesting guy to talk to, and I love being challenged on my assumptions and my beliefs. And I could talk to people like this all day long. And I hope anything I said today was not accusatory. It went back and forth like that. It was great.
I think everybody listening to this is going to be like, it's a good conversation. Those guys might be a little crazy. All right. But no, man, I balance that all the time. I would bring it back if I'm like, that's not going to go over well. But listen, if anybody has any problem with this conversation, they got some deep searching they have to do within themselves. Because I don't think we took positions on anything. No. That's the thing. It's conversations.
And we weren't judgy about it.
No, not at all. But if somebody takes asking them about the thing they believe in, challenging. If they take that as judgy, they got to do some work on themselves.
Well, I think one of the good things about getting to the point in your life where you no longer care about other people's judgment is that you stop judging other people too. 100%. And it just makes interaction so much better just to go out through the day and just like talk to people.
More true and transparent. Yeah.
But so all that said, as much as I love talking to you for 2 hours, I had no idea. Like I'm really passionate about what we're doing with this company and what I can do for the people I'm representing back in Taiwan and the investors that we brought in so far. So it's just like, I think we have a really good opportunity to establish Ecoshell as the go-to for hitting those reduction mandates, whether our name becomes famous or we just become the ingredient that that they can rebrand and call it whatever they want. I don't care. But yeah, we're gonna have a really busy chicken in the office.
This feels big to me.
Yeah,
it does. It feels big. Like even if you're not doing it for the money, there's going to be some people in the next 24 to 36 months knocking on that door.
Yeah, we're starting to. Like people are now Googling, like, because eggshell is becoming, they used to use oyster shell, and we can still use oyster shell as well. It's still a biocalcium. But the problem with oyster shell is you can't ramp it up. The scalability is not there. It takes a long time to grow an oyster.
There's a lot of eggshells.
Right.
A lot. Quick.
Right. Right. And also you can't control for pollution in the water as much as you can on land and radiation and things like that. So we moved away from, calcium carbonate, the limestone, a lot of manufacturers hate it because it really tears up their very expensive machines. But because ours is lighter and more porous, even more than the oyster shell, it doesn't cause that damage either. So there's just benefit after benefit of what we're doing. So people are starting to learn about eggshell. And somebody told me, some guy who called me out of the blue said, who's deep into the industry, he's saying like people are talking about eggshell now, and he's done a deep dive on it. And he said, you guys are the only ones with a patent. We're patented in the US, UK, China, Taiwan, and Australia. We have certifications out the wazoo, and we have proven products. We're doing really well in Asia. They're already working with Google and HP and Dell doing some of their shipping bags. So they're doing well, but it's just now coming to the West. And we're the only ones set up with the structure in place to do it. We've got the...
It feels big.
Yeah,
it does. So. No, I mean, it really feels big. You guys, you gained the proper awareness around this. Do a ton more of this stuff, and we're going to put out some cool clips and different things. He'll tag the company.
Not where I look stupid about carbon, please.
Jack, he's an OU grad as well, so maybe.
Are you?
Oh yeah.
All right.
Yeah, there's Bobcats. So maybe you have something. He's the guy that does a lot of the reels and a lot of YouTube.
Is Tony still there? The bar.
Oh, Tony's yeah.
Okay, yeah.
He has a hat. He wears a hat.
Tony's hat? Seriously?
I have a Steven's hat.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Tony's was my haunt when I was there.
Jesus, you guys. Hey, thanks for coming in, man.
No, I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you, and I had no idea what to expect. I was nervous, but dude, you're amazing to talk to.
Thank you. I'm trying to get better every day. I think that's the journey of life. If every day, whatever thing we're pursuing, whatever we're putting our time into, everything I've done, I haven't been good in the beginning, and I've just tried to be a little bit better every day. Whether that's the 1%, that's it.
If everybody did that, I think
we'd do big things, and I think we'd all feel good about life.
Yeah.
So thanks for coming in.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Sell lots of eggshell, reducing plasticities and making the world better, and carbon, and treating everyone equal and the same, and we fixing the world's problems.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming in, man.
All right, I appreciate it.
Yep.
All right, bye-bye.